And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob. That's me. I am your griot here to tell you a story. So, how do you feel? Do you feel like you're in the right place at the right time? Or do you feel like you want to be someplace else? Does your life suck? Or are you happy with where you are? Are you ever content? Do you ever understand what's going on in your life? Or do you always feel taken advantage of? You always have to try and prove something that you're not. Can't you just be content? And where would that contentment come from? So come on, kids. I'm hitting the live chat button. Let's see what you got to say. There's one person there. So early on in my life, you know, the first thing as I was being born, I basically was murdered by the incompetence of the medical establishment. I was a blue baby, meaning the umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck, and I wouldn't come out of that uterus, and so they were like using, and the doctors were like smoking cigarettes. My mom was smoking a cigarette. The first thing I could remember tasting and smelling was tobacco. Why do you think I did want to come out? you know. And whenever I sleep, I still am all over the place. I mean, all the women I've lived with and would share a bed with, they would always go, "What is up with you? You're like running around and just jumping up and down." So we would basically get the biggest bed I could find, and or have two beds, like Donna Reed. And I mean, that's why Donna Reed they had two beds. It's like she didn't want to sleep with that guy. I mean, she wanted to have sex. They had kids. Yeah, but anyway, so I came out, and these morons were about to kill me, and I mean, pop my head off like a tick. And my mom wouldn't care shit because she really didn't want any more kids. She likes getting pounded, but she's not. My parents were not designed to be parents, right? They really weren't. I mean, they were okay. They didn't beat us. They fed us. We had a nice house. We were nice middle class. Basically, our parents wore us like jewelry. Whenever we went out, we put on these clothes so we looked presentable. And early on in my age, I kind of, my father, when I was 7, one of the first things he did, I mean, because I was being brought up by my grandmother, because my mom just couldn't take care of another. And so, and I was blessed because, I lived with my grandmother up in Harlem, right? And people, when I say, oh, Harlem, it's a terrible place. No, it was the best place. In the 1950s, it was the best place. It was at the zenith of the Harlem Renaissance. Jim Crow was, people never, and this is where I learned this one from, people never understand unexpected consequences. So after the Civil War, and they had the, I don't know which amendment was, 14th, 18th, one of those amendments, they basically gave men, black folk, they weren't property anymore. Well, white women still were. Women didn't get any kind of freedom until in the 1920s, right? And, the present administration wants to go back there. And I'm saying, baby, I love Donald Trump because he is such a puddinhead. I mean, I grew up in New York City, and he was on the New York Post front page virtually every week for doing something unbelievably stupid. And the most amazing thing about that was that he turned everything that he was stupid at as a basic positive outcome, meaning there was no such thing to him as bad um, bad news, bad coverage, right? Optics, he couldn't care less. Like, when he was running for president, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. Obviously, he can. He can go out there hunting human beings as president and say it's a presidential imperative that I just aimlessly go down, any street in wherever I'm at and just start whacking people, just for fun. Or doing really terrible, disgusting things. It doesn't matter. I'm president. And the Supreme Court says I can do anything I want. And you, Puddinheads, voted the clown in. And I am so happy because he's going to destroy the United States. The United States, since Christopher Columbus got here, needs to be destroyed. They've killed more people. Any empire, but any empire, the Romans, the Greeks, Mesopotamians, the Egyptians, we have outdone all of them put together in the killing realm and stealing realm, and and having oh, we're Christian, oh, we believe in shit, oh yeah, no, sorry guys, you guys are deluded. If you don't realize that what is it? It's not even Monday, and not even a full week. This coming Monday, I think anyway, because I've lost total essence of time. It's about time. It's about space. Lost in space. Robot. Kill Jim. Captain Jim. Anyway, we're gonna have one heck of a good time. I would say. Already, eggs are going up. They've gone up by $1. Just in less than a week, eggs have gone up by $1. Right? Gasoline is going up by a few cents. Right? It's gonna. You thought under JoJo there was inflation? Oh, forget about it. Wait until Downey starts putting tariffs on cars in America. Made in America. Basically, any part that goes into anything that's manufactured in America comes from someplace else. China, Japan, Canada, Mexico are the 4 major where parts come from, and Korea. And I don't know if you basically twigged on it that pretty much all political, everything political has been a joke. There is no democracy, social democracy. No. Basically, this is all, what do you call it? Bread and circus. That's all this is. Never-ending wars. And every empire, you look at it, every empire, when they went down the tunnel of going never-ending wars, and then having to go, into, like the Romans and the Greeks, their first few hundred years, they were doing pretty good because they had an ideology that people could get behind and felt like it was worth being part of this enterprise anymore. So, but we are going to Devo, crack that whip, Devo. What does that stand for? De-evolution, right? And that's what we are. We're going back to the slugs, right? Anyway, here we are, 9 minutes and 9 seconds. I like it when that happens. And you guys can get a hold of me at the dudewake42 at Gmail. Dudewake42 at Gmail. Let's see if anyone has gotten a hold of me at Gmail. 701. Okay.
Say you could snap your fingers and be wherever you wanted to be. I bet you'd still feel this way. Not in the right place. The point is you can't get so hung up on where you'd rather be that you forget how to make the most of where you are.
Did you get that? You could snap your fingers and be any place you wanted to be. You probably would say that sucks. Look at John Boy. He's up there in the school. Beautiful place, amazing place. one of the most spiritual places on earth. And it has no ideology. It has no good and bad. What it does, it's the hill. It will enable anything you want to do, right? So when I bought that place, I helped my friend out. She owned it. She needed some money. I gave her way more. The county said it was worth $45,000. I gave her 120 because I sold other piece of property and I needed to buy another piece of property, so I wouldn't have to get taxes, and I did that. Right? I gave her that money, and she had a lawyer. I had a lawyer. I went and visited their lawyer and said, "Hey, I'm going to buy this thing. Here's my lawyer's phone number. Call them up. Let's make it out." And they, did it. Did all the stuff that's supposed to do. I looked at everything. I said, "Fine." I signed it, and I put the money in escrow. A whole thing. I didn't borrow any money. I didn't have my daddy give me any money. I just had the cash, and I needed to spend it. Okay? And so my friend, her son-in-law, who's a really great guy, he's dead now, but he grew up poor. And he always had to prove that he was a top blah blah blah. And basically, he came and said, "Well, I'm going to negotiate the price." I said, "Our lawyers have already done that." He goes, "I didn't hear that." And I'm negotiating the price. I said, "I'm going to pay 125." And he knew that the county only wanted, said that it was only worth 45 or 60. And he was like, "Where you going to get that kind of money?" I said, "Not a problem. You don't have any credit." He hadn't checked anything out. He had no idea who I was, except that I was his mother-in-law's good friend, that she had known me a long time, not just there in Roanoke, Virginia, but I knew her in New York City. And anyway, so okay, let's get my glasses. Yep, goody. I have my glasses. Let's see. Howdy, how is everyone? Everyone seems to be fine since it's just you and me. Anyway, so this guy was like, right? So I said, "Just go talk to your lawyer," right? So basically, a few weeks later, we had the closing, and her, my friend's daughter, who is like, again, feels, this girl, her parents were great artists, world famous artists, right? But they, her father was Russian and her mother was Swedish. During World War II, they were like right in the middle of the death grinding machine for 4 years. Her brother was born in a ditch while a U.S. Air Force F-47 was trying to, kill her. So anyway, and so Inga, she just had the greatest, I went through a bunch of stuff to end up in Roanoke. It would take too long to give that whole story. Someday, I have. Go back and look at all those other shows that I've put down. Janie, do you go back and look at all the shows I've done? And like I said, you just have to put your little finger here. You go to my channel, right? I'm going to go to my channel. And It's YouTube. Hit me. There I am. We're going to go to my shows, your videos. Yeah. And so there they all are, right? And all you have to do is do this. And they will go, bloop, 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 right? And then push one, right? And, just days left of the old 1 month ago. This is pretty good. Most of the views, every show has about 40 to 70 views. That's good. Oh, here's one, 173. I like that one. 18, maybe didn't get everyone thrilled. Let's see what they said. I was the dude in Asheville between 91 and 99.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Do you guys ever know the Pink House?
Say it again?
Pink House on Broadway. Between UNCA and downtown or 420.
Yeah.
And that was, we had
what we called the beer school.
Sweet.
When they were planning to build I-26,
Yeah.
I was the negotiator with the Bud and Shine Empire in Bloody Madison. And so anyway, they used to come down with Shine and Bud. And my girlfriend was a shrink, and she was a shrink to guys who liked wearing evening gowns. And so the Bud and Shine guys used to come and dance with the boys in the evening gowns. And the Shine and Bud guys would go, "Wow, you are pretty." And the guys would go, "Well, I'm a guy." "Well, that's okay." And the orange peel used to be a place where Pickens hung out. And we started the orange peel. We just went in and took it over. We didn't pay rent for it. We didn't need licenses. We just no. They are a straight up corporate business. But you could buy almost any house in Asheville for $10,000. And I rented the who are those guys? So Above, So Below, Mr. Alistair Crowley, those guys. Anyway, their magic room. It's a gigantic place. I rented it for $50 a month.
That's amazing.
So those kids were from Asheville, and they were hipster kids, meaning their parents were rich, and they didn't have to work, and they got into a Land Rover, right, with a special thing on top to put their camping gear and go skiing and biking. And not that that's a bad thing, right? And if they're there, and this guy, he was like dressed like a pirate, Any guy who dressed, and he had a sword, right? He took out his sword, and I looked at it and said, "Oh, that's nice." And I said, "Why do you have a sword?" He goes, "Well, I said, "Listen, you have a sword. The other guy has a gun. You take that out and threaten somebody with it. They'll just shoot you dead with a bullet, and they're 20 feet away. And what are you going to do?" And he goes, "Well, I have a commitment to an aesthetic." I said, "Well, that's great, And that's Donald Trump. He has a commitment to aesthetic, meaning he feels the most shame, the most depressed, the most everything about his life. And, he has to take more and more. He wants, Greenland, right? He wants to make Canada 51st state and take Panama back, Really. And if he does, and are you going to use military force? He goes, "Well, I might." The art of the deal, meaning be stupid and then take advantage of it. And that's our president. Now that's fine. It really does. He does. I mean, they voted him in. He represents the stupid morons that populate this country. So today's Sunday. I am basically fasting. I'm just drinking water here. So again, you want to get a hold of me and read any of my stories that I write, and they're way more because the stories I tell here on the YouTube. Remember, don't believe a word I say, but they're pretty much what happened, with a little embellishment. Whereas my novels, kind of what happened, but with a little more. It's like I've had, or still have, a number of friends who are in the publishing biz, right? And I send them my stuff, and they pretty much all go, "Wow, this is amazing stuff. Really, that's good. Publish it." Oh no, it's not economically feasible. Who's going to read this? This is like James Joyce on acid. I said, "Yeah, I'm sure there's a group, a constituency of readers who would like this." So anyway, that's why I keep telling everyone, get a hold of me at the dudeawake42 at Gmail. And if you have Gmail, you will, and Jane, you, I think you did send me your email to me. Let's see. But I'm no excuses. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, look at that thing. That's like a piece of junk. It's not even close. That's just oh look, isn't that cool? It's like one of the sneakers that Puddinhead wanted to sell, the gold sneakers. Good idea. How many morons bought that shit? Oh, there you are, Jane. Jane Jones? Is that you? Jane Jones? Yeah, it's Jane Jones. Oh, you sent me that rocket ship. When I finish this, I'm going to send you some stuff, Jane. Yes, I have no idea how to use this one or this one. This thing is like 10 years old. This thing is, I really don't know how old it's the the guy from Microsoft gave me that. Anyway, so a good. So I have I've always had a cadre of youngsters, of people. Well, they were children. When I was in Ireland, when I get back to the Deep Green, I'm going to go dig up some photos and start showing you guys photo pictures of all these stories. But anyway, back in the when was it? Early '80s. I was in Ireland. The last time I saw Archie, and I lived with this doctor. Right? She was really interesting woman. Came from England, Leeds, and she's really smart. And she went to medical school, and she bumped into a African king who was going to medical school, or prince maybe, like a la Eddie Murphy, and they had a baby. And then he had to go back to Africa, and she didn't go with him, but she got the baby. And so that kid was like a prince, really smart, really he always stood up straight. It was really, really good. And her sister was like the bizarre version of her. And basically, you know, this woman did all these amazing things. Came from a real poor family, went to medical school, did all that stuff, got to be in a really high end practice, and she took a little visit to Ireland, which her old ancient roots were from, and she said, "Why the fuck should I, England?" Ugh. So, and this is before Ireland joined the EU for the Maastricht Treaty. Anyway, so she goes to the Irish guy and say, "Listen, I'm Irish, and I'm a doctor. Look how groovy of a doctor I am. I want to be a general practitioner in a little town in the West Coast." And they said, "Unbelievable!" And so they sent her to this place called Glendore, and they gave her a farmhouse, which was just outside of town, and it was beautiful, about 100 acres, and it went down to the ocean, and coming from the tops of the mountain down, it was perfect for sheep and cows and all the rest. And it had 3 or 4 nice barns. Everything was made out of stones. It was like 1,000 years old. It was like it had its own fairy circle. It had bee houses. These are ancient Celtic houses where they'd make a circle little house, and they'd put a thatch roof over it, and they would live in it, and they would throw the garbage out the window. And then when the garbage went up above the window, they built a stone floor, the stone staircase, and then put another thing. So that was down there, and then there's up here. And some of these things were 10 and 20 stories tall, just kind of buried. And Archie, he would dig these things. That's how he met this woman, is that he was like digging around for stuff, and it was on her property, and they became buds. And the old crone really loved her. So when I came back, the old crone was kind of, I did see her that last one time. But so much stuff had gone under the bridge. I was no longer her little Padawan, and I had taken forks in the road that she knew I was going to take. When she dropped me off in this right there in Dublin, right across the street from Trinity, down the road, and all the beer and whiskey distillers, and then you keep going, and there's all the fishermen. Anyway, it's like straight out of Harry Potter. You go down this little lane, it's really teeny lane, comes out, and it's like this village. These people from all over the time spectrum, right? And she took me, the old crone took me into this tea shop, and where it was a bakery, but they called it a tea shop, but really yummy stuff. And she goes, I have some business. You stay here, Al. Anyway, I stayed there like for 5 hours. I don't know what the heck she was doing, but I stayed there. And this young girl came over. Would you like me to read your tea leaves? And I said, sure. And she did. And she told me everything about me, right? And everything that was going to happen. Now, I can tell people everything about them, right? But I can't tell you what's going to happen in your future. That's outside of my pay grade. But I can tell you everything about you. I'm a good, intuitive. I'm a good, I studied 5 years to be a shrinky boy, and had to practice. I didn't have a practice, but people I was studying had to practice, and they just kept pushing things on me to do that they didn't want to do, and I was doing it great. And they said, "Wow, you're really good. Al, you're the best one of us that we have, and you really do a great job. But we want you to, it was okay when you were doing all the poor people, and we could take it off our taxes. But now you're starting to do it for the people who have good insurance. We want you to keep them on the hook for at least 20 years. I said, what? No, I can get them out the door in 5 meetings. I do, because when look at that house I have with a swimming pool and the XKE and a Land Rover and a Cadillac, and my kids go to private school. We are thinking of making you a partner because we need a guy like you. You keep us straight. And I was like, what? He said, oh yeah, we're going to get you into our country club, and there's a house that just right next door that is really, this is the time to buy that house. And I would put the money up, and you're a partner, and you could pay it off in 2 or 3, 5 years, and you could have a real life, a real, really. And I looked at him and I said, I quit. He goes, he took it. He just couldn't freaking believe it. What? He says, because he knew, I had come from Johns Hopkins to, first I was at the VA, and then I was at the prison, and that's when I met these guys, because they had one of their flunkies in there doing pro bono stuff, and they met me, and they said, how would you like to do our pro bono stuff? And I said, sure. What are you going to pay me? And they said, we'll pay you basically $100 a person. When you, I was thinking, $100 a person. They're going to pay me, and so these guys are scum. Just can't imagine how much money. Oh, hello, my brother.
What's going on, Al Bob? How you feeling?
Oh, I'm on live on my YouTube channel. Have you ever taken a look at my YouTube channel?
No, you got to give me the info for that.
Oh, that's Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Owl Bob.
Okay.
Right? And my email is thedudeawake42 @gmail.
The Dude Awake.
Yep, 40. The Dudeawake42 @gmail. All lowercase, all one thing. And you just say, "Hey, here I am," and I'll send you some of my novels. That might be fun.
Okay.
So, did you get a lot of snow?
No, we didn't get any snow here where I'm at.
Oh, you lucked out. You're good. The way you always luck out, son. You.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man. I'm so blessed with this place, this little crease. I don't know how I found it, but God led me to it, and I'm gonna stay right here.
That's how you found it. God brought you there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, sir.
So I have to deal with a lot of crazy bullshit all the time. And instead of worrying about it, I always go, God, I don't have a clue. Please take care of it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it always works out.
That's it.
Yep. And the biggest problem that people have is they're never satisfied with where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And sometimes it's good not to be satisfied. It kind of, look at you, right? You could have been satisfied with a lot of things you had, but it would have been just more of the same.
Yeah.
And you realize that's not what I want. So you went for something different, and look what you got, you know?
Sir. Yes, sir.
So how's your leg doing? That's all healed up, right?
What did you say? I couldn't hear you.
How's your leg doing? It's all healed up?
Oh, man, everything's all healed up, man. The body is just feeling a little weak, but you know, other than that, man, I'm doing great, man. I'm satisfied. I'm walking around. I'm able to go to work every day. And,
Yep.
you know, I'm just enjoying life, man.
You got a good pair of shoes?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, look at me. Look when I walked in your shop that first time, and I had clamps on my legs, and you know, you said, "What?" You know, like you looked at me with this face of surprise, like, "What is this guy doing here?" And I said, "I want a haircut." You know, and you had all those pictures of all the guys with the lightning bolts in their hair and all that kind of stuff, right? I want to look like that. And everyone's laughing, and then it's okay, right? And
Yes, sir.
I waited like 40 minutes, and then I sat down and we talked.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that's me. I don't really change that much. My modus operandi. I'm getting old though. I'm like, and I'm sleeping. I started a community center from an old school. We had a big, terrible. You know, everyone talks about Asheville. Tennessee got whacked way worse, and they don't because it's poor people. And it's just like Melrose, meaning the rich people are just buying up all the real estate from the catastrophe.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to turn it into Lake Tahoe, you know, and they don't understand that this is an unbelievably special place, and nature is going to eat them alive.
Mm-hmm.
Just like these morons who think they can do anything, and just because they have money and power and this, no, sorry, not going to happen.
Yep.
So what's the most exciting thing? How you doing with that little chunk of land you have?
Well, what are you talking about here?
Yeah, here. Yes.
I just built the house, man. It's just a small little plot in a little. I'm in the cul-de-sac right now. I don't have my big land yet. My daughters and I are. We just started our family trust. So we're trying to put all of those things together, and I'm learning how to be a free Virginian national.
Yes, exactly. It's you know, take advantage of that you came from Virginia, because not every state has that.
Right.
Yeah. So yes, good. So yes, and you know, it's everything. People are always in such a hurry. Whatever it takes. That's what it takes. And if you enjoy the ride, that's the thing. People don't enjoy the ride. You know.
Yes, sir.
Yep. So how many daughters you got in this little endeavor?
2 right. I have everybody in the family trust right now. All of my kids. It's called the Cultivate 8. It's all of us.
Oh, that's great.
So we, my wife and I, and all of the kids. So we're just trying to build something, do our own banking, and
Yep.
you know, just learn how to be free people, man.
Yep. And it's not hard. It's just that the general population is so dumbed down and so fear-ridden. They don't even read a book. You know, it's really. I live like a millionaire on $400 a month.
Mm-hmm.
I got rid of everything. I have nothing. When you have nothing, you got nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm running this, not running it. They have a board, but their board is boring. But um, their 501c3 came from a food bank. And about 5 years ago, I got involved and got them hooked up with other churches, and it worked out great. And so we were feeding like about 20,000 people a week, a month, not a week. And then the catastrophe happened, and it really, it took out everything. It was unbelievable. But the churches were still there, and the school that we were fighting to get, they just gave us the keys and said, do something with it. So we turned it into a community center. And because of what we had done earlier in those 3 years with those other churches, we had a really good connect. About 350 plus churches from around the country came to us and helped us out.
Wow.
And we got about somewhere between $5 and $40 million worth of, not like stuff from the bottom of your closet, but brand new. This one church came from Hawaii, got a tractor trailer, went to Lowe's, filled it up halfway, and then went to Target's, and all brand new stuff, and then drove it all the way across the country to us.
Wow.
Yeah. So so the county, the state, FEMA, they didn't do zip. They still aren't. The state road is still destroyed, but the rich people want it to be made into a 4-lane highway. And that's going to take $1 billion or $2 billion. So that's going to take a few years. So all the people who are still living here, the poor folk like me, to get anywhere, I have to go an extra 40 miles. So that's why I'm staying at the undisclosed location. Even though it's concrete and I have to sleep on concrete, at least it's warm. It's been ridiculously cold here, like 8 degrees every morning. Doesn't get above 25. It's like, so.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And people going on about, global warming. No, no one's even thinking about the next ice age,
Right.
Because this Earth has been an ice.
That's what's up next.
That's what's up next, because we have been an ice cube for most of our time, So anyway, but the real deal is to live every moment you have in God's co-creation,
That's it.
Yeah, that's
That's it.
We are the mirror to God. When Moses was up there looking at the stars and talking to the sheep, and then the burning bush showed up. And he goes, so what are you? He goes, I am. But he didn't say, I am who I am, because only Popeye says that. He said, I am a work in progress, meaning God is a work in progress. And you, meaning humanity, are my mirror. I can't really tell what I'm doing except by looking at what God, and if you read the Old Testament, I don't know if I told you this. The Old Testament, the Torah, the Jewish Old Testament, right? Nobody read Hebrew. It's like today, around the world, a lot of people read English. Greek was the language, right? So the term for the Torah was Greek. And you know what that Torah translated into English means? You suck. The whole Old Testament is all about how you suck. Like God is pissed off that the Hebrews were like a bad, bitchy girlfriend, always stealing his cigarettes and taking the money. It's like, anyway, so that's where we are. And we seem to never get out of that.
Sound like I'm losing you.
Oh, okay. How about now? Better?
All better.
Yeah. It's a miracle that I got the signal here, because this I don't really get phone calls more or less. But anyway, it's great that you're doing that, and if I could, I would come and see you now, because I'm sure. What's the temperature there now? Like 50 or something?
Oh, it's been pretty cold. It was actually yesterday. It was like 32 degrees.
Oh man, if I had 32 degrees, I think I was in Bermuda.
Yeah. It got up to about 65 today, though.
Oh, I'm gonna have to wait till May for it to get to 65. But anyway, So yeah, when you get to that,
Hey man, just stay in touch and let me know, man.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
here.
and the thing is, what would be really interesting,
Uh,
I have a ton of stuff that would be great for building anything, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah, you come up here in your car, we get a U-Haul, and just I put it all in there and take it to your place. I mean, every kind of electrical, I mean, I got a ton of stuff because I was going to build.
Can't really hear you from
How about now? Better?
Yeah.
Anyway, I had saved, I had a contracting business. I had saved a ton of stuff thinking I was going to build a big house here. But, God had a different idea, so I didn't. But I'd love to give it all to you because it's just, getting in the way. I have just too much stuff, So, but you could use it all to build. I mean, I got, boxes of screws and you name it, I got it. And so one day you just drive up here, we rent a U-Haul and take all the shit back to your place in Florida.
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan. Okay, handsome. So stay in touch, and even probably the best time to do that would be in the late summer or early fall. Because here it's beautiful here. This is heaven, except for about 60 days of the year. And I used to go to Florida those 60 days, but those days are over. I'm really, really, really glad that you called and we had the time and space to have this conversation. And so bless you, my brother. And
you,
yeah. And say hi to everybody. And let's talk again soon.
all right. Talk to you soon.
Love you, buddy. So that's Khalid. And that was Roanoke's version of Malcolm X. Except he didn't get shot. He didn't. We did some pretty amazing things together, and so there was this what I used to call the usual suspects. Is social activists who did squat, and they were just liberal bourgeois, and it didn't matter. See, the thing is, it doesn't matter what color. See, people don't realize it's not color in our society, it's class. Where you were born, how much money daddy has, all of that. That's class. Anyway, so my bud, his father was like the black minister in that area. Had a big church, family really respected and blah blah blah. And my bud, he was like the good looking. He's like the prodigal son, and he went off and did a lot of crazy stuff, and like young people do. And being black, he kind of ended up in jail. If he was white, no problem. But he came to Jesus in jail. I worked a lot in jail as a counselor, and when I saw that people either just got stuck on the same thing and did it, and got worse and worse and worse, or because you go to jail, it's like the college for criminals, and psychopaths. Or you go to the other side and you find Jesus or God or whoever, and that was Khalid. Okay, and so he came back and straightened his act up and was penitent and did a lot of great things in that community. And he had barbershop, like that's the center of the black male community and communities, and that's what I was saying. I kind of walked in there because I heard about him, and I was getting sick of all the usual suspects. So this is like maybe 4 years after I died, maybe, but I was still fucked up. Meaning, the first 2 years after dying in 2014, 2014, 2015, I was in a wheelchair, right, and had metal clamps on my legs. And then from then, I went straight just to clamps and sticks on my arms, And Anyway, so I walked into his barbershop and it was like, maybe 30 guys in there and, um, hip hop music and TVs were going on and on. And as soon as I opened the door and walked in, this old guy, white beard, I was wearing like a pink, basically tutu, I had these clamps on my legs and I kind of hobbled in and they were just like, and just like the music stopped. Everyone was just, and my friend goes, "What do you want?" I said, "I want to get a haircut." And my hair was like really long and like sticking out, like I looked like a bush, right? And so he goes, "You sit over there." So I kind of hobble over there and I start talking to everybody and I say, "Oh, let me read your palm." And they go, "Huh?" Yeah. So after I read the first guy's palm, wow, right? And so I basically read every one of those guys' palms and gives them advice about, your da 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 da, maybe think about this, da 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 da. And so anyway, by the time he said, "Okay," I sat in there and I said, I just cut it all off and trim my beard down, right? And he goes, "Okay, that makes it easy." And first I said there were these pictures of like guys with lightning bolts in their head and all that kind of, you know. And I said, "I want to look like that guy." And I have straight hair, and it was like a rat's nest. And he just looked at me and goes, "I don't think so." I said, "Oh, then just shave it all, just buzz it off." And he did. And I stayed buzzed off ever since. Um, let's see. What's Janie saying here? Jay, I'm okay. You have connected. Yes. Jane, did you listen to Go to Dark Journalist? And he has his shows every Friday. And his last show was a really good show on all of the above, right? And he is really so. I am not ideologically attached to anything, right? So I don't care what's your, say he kind of thinks that, Donald Trump and his chuckleheads are going to be, the best thing since sliced bread. And well, that's fine, but he has a lot of great information. It really, his the esoteric nature of the United States and the world, the planet and its history. He's very right on top of that. And the connective tissue of UFOs, just like you said, JFK, MLK, and UFOs. And MLK, he was great. When he get and I have a dream that little white boys and little white girls can go hand in hand with little black boys and little guys, and will be our country will be based on how good you are, right? And that was great. He got a Nobel Prize for that. He always wore a nice suit, right? He got to JFK gets whacked. He good old Mr. Johnson, who's the most racist guy there is, basically gets all of these laws so black folk can vote, right? And can basically gets rid of Jim Crow because he went to all the Southern Blue Dog Democrats and said, "Listen, you guys don't ride on the bus, and you guys don't go to public school, and you guys don't eat at the counter. That's all they want. Let them vote. Who cares? It doesn't matter. We got it. The fix is in all the friggin' time." And by the way, guys, Jim Crow made the black community in America the 7th largest economy in the friggin' world. Just like California is. California should with the Washington and the other state along the West Coast, they should join Canada. I mean, that would be the hep thing for them to do. It's like forget Canada being 51st state, California, because if California joined, Canada and Washington and Oregon, it's that whole West Coast thing, they are more than half the economy, especially California. Is California has a GDP larger than half the country in the world, right? So that's, and no one talks about the stuff that I talk about, which is, okay, so they can't, or they don't have the mental purgatory to, right? So, but anyway, Danny, go check out Dark Journalist. He's a really good bud, and he's really great. He can get off on his tangents, but so can your sensei, Bob. I get off on tangents, but they're like a shotgun, meaning I'm all over the place. I don't really proselytize any ideological point of view. I'm just all over the joint, right? Well, it's only been 50 minutes. So, Jane, what do you think of JFK, MLK, UFOs? Why they had to whack MLK was he wouldn't step down. He wouldn't be a good nigger, He took off the suit and he put on the bib overalls of a sharecropper. And he started going across the country in a wagon being, pulled by mules, right? And he stopped and he talked to people. He was doing the same thing that during the Depression, the guy who wrote the book, The Razor's Edge and the Jungle, Sinclair Lewis, right? He started a political party called the B Party, meaning be good, be yourself, be righteous, right? The B Party. And he walked across the country, and by the time he got up into the mountains of the Blue Ridge, just above DC, he had close to 1 million people up there. And he knew the history of the bonus army. The bonus army was during World War I. Basically, the Europeans were fighting. Germany didn't lose World War I militarily, but they had gotten to a point where, they had gotten Poland and all those countries up there along Russia, right? And basically, World War I crashed the Tsar and became, the Soviet Union. But the Germans had all of this, plus they had the Persian Empire. So they had more, almost half the planet under their little political, and they had economics and industrialization above anybody else. And so they said to the French, English, and then the Americans came in when the Russians, had a revolution, and they were defeated by the Germans. Basically, they were really defeated by their stupidness in their military. And Russia still has this stupid attitude that we have so many people, we can just throw them in the meat grinder, right? It didn't work for them for World War I, and it caused a revolution. And now Putin is doing the same thing in Ukraine. But, how can we, the United States, really we're so, our shit don't stink, we're so high and mighty, and, Russia invaded Ukraine. No, sorry, kids. There was a lot of things going on, right? So the Vostok Treaty, not the Vostok Treaty, whatever that treaty was in 2014, Mogham. So Jane, tell the audience about Mogham. That's a pretty interesting, that's an ancient thing. If I'm thinking of the same thing you are. And these guys, this is like a god, like a badass god. And every imperial force that had success as an empire, no matter what they said their God was, we're a Christian country here in America. No, we weren't. All our founding fathers were Masons, right? Secret society boys. And our whole country is, the ruling class are secret society kids. Look at George W. and what's his name, Mr. Hines, 57. They both went to Yale and were part of the, Skull and Bones, and we can't talk about it. And the basic problem with the United States has been based on this illusion that you work hard, you pull yourself up from the bootstraps, You could be a millionaire. Well, you could. You can be a millionaire if you want to sell your soul. Mm-hmm. LBJ kissed Bird's ring. Yep. I mean, people have no idea the corruption of our government, and has been corrupt from the first day. I mean, look where it was born from. Christopher Columbus, a total puddinhead. He's stuck out there in the Atlantic all over the place with these three leaky boats, and jerk offs as the Queen didn't give him the top of the rung. And the only reason she sent him over there, she kind of knew that something was over there that wasn't India. But they basically were expendable, right? And the thing that Christopher Columbus did was he's a very good writer, meaning he was very descriptive. He was, a geographer, right? Drawing maps and pictures of things and writing about them, describing them, very descriptive. And that's what caught her eye. If he did get there, he could document it and bring it back, right? So he does. He gets out there, stuck out there, and they're all basically about to die. And the boats kind of just, they don't hit North America, they hit Hispaniola, meaning Haiti, right? And they hit that place, and they don't hit it, they don't like run into it. They're out there, and Indians can see their long masts, so they go out there in their canoes and they get all these guys who were sick, and they bring them in and nurse them back to health, and then are very hospitable to them. And Chris writes all this stuff about them. And the first thing he writes, these people are great. They're tall. They're handsome. They're strong. They're really bright. They have an empire here. They got a lot of gold, and they're very generous. And they're not violent. They don't have an army. They don't have weapons. I could conquer this place with 3 guys and a gun, right? And he does. His sociopathic son and him come back 3 years later with an armada and an army and cannon and guns. And within 4 years, they kill 6 million of the native folk who lived there. So that's how we started off, with that Holocaust, and we've gone Holocaust to Holocaust. And so, how do we have the right, or even the chutzpah, to say we're the golden, city on the hill, that our shit don't stink, and Russia's terrible, it invaded Ukraine. Well, Downey wants to invade Greenland, Canada, and Panama, and he wants to Mexico too, and rename the Gulf of America, right? I mean, how does anyone in this country, or anybody who voted for this guy, can actually say, well, that's a good idea? Because look at all the wars that we've had, right? Korean War, Vietnam War, Afghanistan, Iraq, the Arab Spring. We lost every one of those things. It just broke it up into complete chaos, because that's kind of what the corporate structure wanted. They didn't want to have freedom or democracy or any of the above. They wanted total chaos in all those places. Libya was a great country. I went there. I mean, I went to Syria like in the 70s. It was great. Yeah, the great dictator was there. Yeah, you couldn't say smack about it, but you could do whatever else. You could have business. They had schools. They had a great medical. They had, you name it. It was great, right? And I was there for 2 weeks, and I met some interesting poets and musicians and artists. And I ended up, little did I know, that was like a no-no in Syria. That was like the beginning of a revolution. So anyway, I would hang out with these guys because, boy, they had great hash, and girls were, and they were just so much fun, and we were dancing all the time. And one night, I went out with these guys, and we went around to so many different places. I had no idea where I was in the capital city of Damascus, and And I don't normally get stoned or drunk, right? I partake a little bit, but I kind of I got into it, and normally my body would respond, don't do this, right? Meaning if I am smoking, but they had this hookah that was like, it was like sweet, and it was coming through tea, and it was cool, and it didn't burn my throat or my lungs, so I wasn't caught. Because normally, if I smoke a J, I cough my brains out, and that's no fun. So I don't go there. Same thing with alcohol. I like a nice glass of wine. So they had this stuff called, it was something between ouzo and raptia, and a thing that they have in Portugal called Copper Caprinius. It's like LSD. And it's poured this very dark syrupy, well, yellow, dark yellowy syrup, and they pour it over ice, and the ice melts down, and you drink it, and it's really sweet, and it's cool. And so I had about 4 of those, and I was on another planet, right? So, and it's about 4 in the no, maybe 2, somewhere between 2 and 4 in the morning, and this is something, I don't know if it still exists, but in Europe and in a lot of places, when you leave, you have to either leave, your driver's license or your passport or whatever. But normally in foreign countries, they let you keep your passport, but something that you want back, right? And so you got a key to get in your room, but you don't have a key to get in that front door. And at 1 a.m., the door is closed and locked, and you're not getting in until 6 a.m. So anyway, I'm out with these people, just having the best old time, just really great. And so I'm trying to, I drank more than I normally drink, and I have to like drain the lizard, and I look around, and do you believe that JFK ETC files will be released? Well, a gentrified version of those files will be there. Whether they go into, like, if you were to listen to Dark Journalist's last Friday's show, he went from soup to nuts. Meaning, first of all, the Nazis are involved. The Nazis, when they got into, first of all, the Nazis were here, before the Civil War. That level of, they were called the Fool Society, right? There were a number of secret societies, and America was full of secret societies. Anyway, and they came over here and fooled around with, because they went out to Colorado, and there are a lot of things buried from the old days, and they found technologies down there. That's where Tesla discovered, he went to Colorado Springs, and he went down the caves, and he discovered zero-point energy and wireless transmission of electricity, like in the 1880s, 70s, 90s, somewhere in there. Anyway, so the JFK assassination, and JFK, he was a rich boy, and his daddy was probably the biggest gangster, and not like, the booze gangsters. This guy was a gangster of real money, the New York Stock Exchange. Jack Kennedy's dad, Joe Kennedy, perverted. I mean, the stock market was already perverted, but he doubled down on it big time. During the Depression, he made zillions. Everyone's suffering. The great collapse lasted 3 extra years because Joe was making money off it, and that's when he had ties with every scumbag entity on the planet. So that's Jack's daddy, and so he grew up. He went to Harvard. He went to the best prep schools. Then the war breaks out, and so he doesn't. He's not really. I mean, he joins the Navy, and he is sent out there. In the back. He's not Iwo Jima. He's not doing that. He's zipping around in his little PT boat. It's basically just a speedboat with torpedoes, and he doesn't see any action. And he goes from island to island, because where he was there where all these islands were that had air bases and hospitals. So guys would get blown up. They would be taken there to patched up. They're like the beginning of what a MASH is, and so all he did was zip around in a speedboat, go from island to island, and get have sex with the nurses. And he was zipping across there, and he's running without any lights, and he's zipping along, and the Japs were there, but they weren't causing any trouble. They were just there to harass and protect the Japanese flank, right? That was all. They weren't like attacking really. So I mean, they would attack the air bases, but not the hospitals. And so this destroyer was zipping along, running without lights. He had no radar, and it's just one of those things. The Japanese destroyer, big metal boat, runs over a plywood PT boat. That's it. So Jack, yes, he saved his boy. He did everything in the movie, right? Because he's, he wants to be a hero like his big brother Joe. And Joe was the one who was going to be president, but he got blown up, right? He wanted to, he too didn't, take 90 missions over Berlin. No. So he was going to basically do a milk run that could be advertised as really, and what it was the first kind of, cruise missile, meaning it was a B-24, just full of explosives, and he was going to take it off. And then once he got it up in the air, he was, just before they went over the channel, he would jump out, and he and his crew would jump out with the parachutes, and that's it. Well, airplane takes off, gets up to cruising altitude. It's about 20, 30 miles to the coast. Plane blows up. Well, we had tons and tons and tons and tons of explosives. And so it's been postulated that somebody put a little device to set all of that off just to pay back Joe for all the scumbag stuff he did over the years. So anyway, Jack is now the next in line. And then he gets run over by a Japanese boat, and he breaks his back. But he does do a pretty heroic thing of saving his boys, and so that gets written up big time. And so they patch him up there, and he's right there where all the hospitals were, and they patch him up the best they can. They send him back to Boston, and he spends a year in the best hospital where they put him back together. But he's still pretty screwed up, broken back, and he had a lot of problems. And he was kind of a sickly kid to begin with, right? Joe was the football star, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, so, what you're going to do, the war is still going on. His father says, you should, you're in the Navy, you had spent some time in intelligence, so you have all those clearances. Forstall, who was the secretary of the Army, of the military at that time, and they call it now the Defense Department, but it was used to be called, the military, the War Department, right? So anyway, I mean, at least they were a little more honest in those days. So he goes, hangs with Forstall. He's his naval attaché, and the wars are just about over. And they're all over America, going to all of these, secret bases, the atomic bomb. He learns about, Manhattan Project and everything else. And he learns that because Forstall is really a well-placed guy, really smart, really, he's in secret societies himself, but he's a well-placed guy. And the Manly Hall had been FDR's vice president for two of those four administrations. And that guy was amazing, really good looking, just strapping. He made a lot of money making during the Dust Bowl. He was a farmer. He made a strain of corn that could grow anywhere, same corn and wheat. He made a fortune out of making corn and wheat for everybody to not starve in America. And so he had a lot of money. he was well educated, he's well connected, and he was really handsome and could really be. He was really a communicator and spoke well. And FDR, he was like next to death. He was no one ever saw him because he couldn't stand up, he couldn't walk. They whenever he gave a speech, they had to like bolt him into the podium. So they had to roll him out there, and put a couple of screws on the floor, and then when the next, the war was almost, it was obvious that we were going to win, but still a lot of people, they were still dying in the islands out there in Japan, because now we're really putting all, because, the Nazis went into Russia. Russia won that war for us. They lost 60 million people. Because that's what they do. Anyway, so David Lynch, director, was into TM. Yes. Transcendental meditation. Good stuff. I'm a practitioner of that. Do you believe ATM files will be released? Well, I would say they may, throw Lyndon Baines Johnson under the bus, and a few other dead Texans and a few other people like that. They won't make the connection to the Nazis. They won't make the connection to ETs and the flying saucers and the 0 point energy and all that stuff. They won't bring that out. And like that picture that you sent me, Jane, that's the kind of shit they're going to show us. Oh, look at this. This is really hot shit. It's not even close. A lot of redacted files, yes. It was quite interesting so I worked for Ralph Nader, right? New York Public Interest Research Group. And that's kind of where I became a researcher, Nightberg. And that's where I kind of hung out with a lot of lawyers, right? And really, there's two types of lawyers, a scumbag and a guy like Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader, he's a millionaire. He's just so smart and he's made money. But he could be a scumbag lawyer. He's not. He's a righteous dude. And he does, until the day he dies, he's going to be right. So why shouldn't he have some money? Because he needs it to be the righteous dude, right? Me, I don't, I had a lot of money. I had a lot of stuff. And I am very much a guy. I have always been this guy. I love the high end, right? The really comfy. I love beautiful hotels. I love grand restaurants. That's why I built a bunch of, because why I was so good at building restaurants and nightclubs is because I liked them, and I had the imagination to visualize the escape, because you give people something they can escape to, you will be, look at Disneyland, So anyway, so I'm very, just like TV, meaning I have internet here, so I spend too much time on the internet, but that's why I live in the deep green. I have none of that, right? But, I've had the place for 25 years, and for 17 of those years, I would go to my places down in Florida, right? 2014, I stopped that lifestyle, right? And I really did. I said, when I came back, I said, okay, I have to change my ways, right? Because God, I had my life review. Everyone's patting me on the back. Oh, you're doing such a great job. And they're saying, doing. No one said, you did a great job. You're doing. And there were all these, signs saying, welcome home, and balloons. But I was in the basement of the Holy Redeemer School, that school where the Nazi nun murdered me in first grade. And there was always, the background smell of that was that green shit that they throw on vomit. And right in front of me was a pancake. It said, you're doing a great job. Welcome home. And it was made out of vomit, green. Anyway, so then, Metatron shows up and goes, Al, you're not quite done. I said, no, I'm tired. I'm ready to go. And he goes, well, that's your choice, but you're not done. And I said, okay, so what does that mean? And I said, well, this ain't hell, but Can you see being here for eternity? And I said, what do you mean? He said, yeah, you got to stay here for eternity. If you want to kick back and relax, you're not going to be doing it at a high-end hotel. You're going to be doing it here. Or you can go back. I said, okay, I'll go back. So he goes, it's going to be fine. It'll be over like that. And you'll be able to do some really great stuff. And you're going to be moving forward. You move forward. See, the good thing, why you did such a good job up to this point is that you move forward and you didn't go back. You just moved forward. You went maybe sideways a little bit, but then you move forward again. And that's fine. It's the going back thing that gets problematic. And so when I came, on the gurney getting wheeled in to have my legs chopped off and 20 feet of my colon taken out and my chest, popped open and quadruple bypass. And I had the fentanyl in my ear, and I just sat straight up like cat, like a Chatty Cathy doll. And the nurse freak, she fainted. The other guy ran away, and I was just stuck with the doctor, the guy who sticks the needle in your arm and keeps you almost dead, but not quite. He goes, you shouldn't. How can you be awake? You have so much fentanyl in you. You should be totally. I said, where am I? And he explained, and I said, fuck this shit. I don't want that. Well, your lawyer's, he's not my lawyer. He's my client. He wants me to do something. I'm sure you guys told him that if you let him do all this shit to me, then I'll be fine in 2 weeks. Roll me back into that ICU. Which they did. And then the lawyer said, what are you doing? How could you wake up? They were just about to operate on you. I said, no. You want me to do this? I mean, they would kill me. I would never be able to do what you want me to do. But I do need is send me down to your palatial hacienda down in the Florida Keys, and I need a colonic therapist, I need an acupuncturist, I need I give him a whole list of stuff. He went off and got them, and they took care of me for 2 weeks, and that got me to a place where I could at least do what he wanted me to do. And then he basically was very happy with that, and he sent me back to his hacienda down in the Keys and paid for another 6 months of getting that kind of care. And by the end of that 6 months, I had moved forward. Instead of going backward and dying or going sideways, I moved forward, right? So I was in a wheelchair, and I did I stayed in Florida because it was a lot easier. And I got shuffled around from, corporate lawyer to corporate lawyer, and they put me up in really great hotels and take care of my dogs and all the above. So after about a little less than a year of that, pretty much that 6 month period with that guy, and then another 6 months with 2 or 3 other guys, I had a nice chunk of change, and I went back to the school and all the other stuff I was doing, and I kept having the same dream of being in that. Every night I would have that same dream of being in that cafeteria with the vomit tray cake, and that's where I realized, okay, I have to really. So I decided to come back, but I can't keep doing this because it's getting in the way of me doing what God wants me to do. So, and I have no idea what God wants me to. I still don't. And so I said, God, I don't have a clue. I'm stuck here. I'm your doula. I mean, I was reading something and I came across doula, Greek meaning slave, and I basically cashed in all my chips and gave all the money away. I didn't keep the money. I mean, I had a big chunk of change. But, people go, oh, you need to buy stock. Oh, you need to invest in this. And I said, no, I don't need to do any of that. What I can do is just, and there were like about 5 or 10 entities that I had been working with that were national entities. They weren't just in Roanoke, but they had aspects in Roanoke. And so I went to those people I knew, and I said, listen, I got this big chunk of change, and I to put it where it's going to do the most good. I trust you guys. I don't trust Goodwill. I don't trust, Red Cross. I don't any of those other jokers. But you guys, the group. So they kind of knew each other. They kind of made a kind of club, Al's Money Club, and I just signed it all over to them. And a couple of pieces of real estate I gave away to interesting, like in Bedford, Virginia. I gave a building to these black folk who had a great, they had a great church, but they didn't have a building, right? And they did it in each of their houses, and they would have amazing food. And Bedford had no food at all, so I gave them the building to turn it into a restaurant, church. And I got this lawyer I knew to get them a 501c3, so they wouldn't have to pay any taxes, and they could have a restaurant. And if people donated, what they go and have food, they donated. And so, basically, the white people just went there in droves because, the best restaurant in Bedford was like KFC. So this was really good food. And so they knew they had to pay better, instead of paying like $10 for dinner, they had to pay $30, right? But if they did that and joined the club, they could take the $30, over a year period of eating a meal or two a week there, they probably spend $1,000 there, and they could take that off their taxes. That's how I kind of set it up. And so it worked out really great. Bedford's become every place I've ever gone when it was like in the dumps, Soho, Tribeca, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, Lower East Side, Red Hook, Harlem, Asheville, Ithaca, New York. All those places were in the dumps when I got there. And I'd spend, somewhere between 3 to 5 to 10 years there, and I wouldn't, half those places I was in a lot of them at the same time. That's how I've had a life that, how could you do all this stuff? A, here's a photo of me doing it. But B, I wouldn't just be in one space. I'd be all over the place. Right? It was a lot more fun that way. So here I am in the undisclosed location. And yeah, it's a drag sleeping on concrete. My poor body is really, but God keeps saying, listen, no. This is like, if you can survive this, you're going to be better when you get back to the deep green. So that's okay. A lot of redacted files. So redacted files. When I worked for NYPIRG, I did mostly environmental kind of things, right? And so that's really where I learned that the real secrets aren't held by our government. They're held by corporations. All of the technology that's, all the Nazi stuff, all of the why we won't really get anything about the JFK. Like I said, they're going to throw Lyndon Baines Johnson under the bus and a couple other, scumbag politicians and mobster guys and blah, blah, blah. And they'll say it's about he was going to go after their drugs and blah, blah, blah. And maybe I think they might go after the CIA because the CIA has lost its relevancy. Because we have 61 other intelligence agencies in our country. That's just the CIA. So there's a lot of, and it was run by Nazis for a specific thing. And that specific thing, which was like, to get rid of Russia, has happened. So, Soviet Union. So that's the thing they're going to give up is, and all of the guys who are coming out about, UFOs or what are AEPs or what do they call those things? CIA guys who were part of this, part of that. So they won't go after Hannibal Bush. They, that's way back. They won't go after Majestic 12. They won't go after any of that kind of stuff. They won't go after COG, continuation of government, our secret government. And, the deep state, that's COG. So that's what I love about good old And of any of the presidents that we've had ever, um, Carrot Head is such a sociopathic moron that he wants to, and he's old, God, I can't believe that guy's even alive. And he can't be, I mean, he smells, remember, I don't know if you guys ever saw Dune, the first one, and one of the villains was this fat guy. He looked just like Trump. He had orange hair and he had a bad comb over, and he had pustules everywhere, and everyone like, "Ooh." And that's Donald Trump, right? Why do you think he has this spray on tan? It's not so much spray on tan. It's more like, when you go get your car fixed and they have the fiberglass fillers. Anyway. That's Donnie. So Donnie has a very interesting past. His uncle, right? His uncle John, that's his middle initial. He was a big time physicist. He was Hanover Bush's protege, and he was the guy who went into Nikola Tesla's apartment in New York City in the Manhattan Hotel. The FBI and him went in there. They rifled through all the shit and took what they wanted. And the KGB was like waiting in the hallway. Okay, you can go in now. And so Donnie and there's this book that was written like at the turn of this 19th century into 20th century about Baron Trump's amazing journey. That kid, you ever see that picture? That kid, take a good look at Baron. He's very strange. MIBs, Men in Black. I had not a lot, but I had a number of run-ins with them, and I stayed. I didn't get, I just said, okay. Well, I think I got once because I told you the story about guys like. Al Bielek and his brother Duncan, who were on the Eldridge with the experiment, and the guy, what's his name? He wrote the book, Montauk Project, right? Preston Nichols, right? And a whole bunch of other guys like that who aren't as well, didn't jump on the bandwagon. There's a group of us, and we belong to I belong to a lot of, I don't know if I say belong to, but I was familiar with a lot of esoteric societies and engineering entities. And I would, they liked me. I had many skill sets that they could hire me for, and I was like a contract worker, basically, right? I never joined, right? Never went in because I saw all these guys. So there's a thing called the U.S. Psychotronic Society, and I was part of that. And I was the guy who I could take and get them into any nightclub, and take them to parties where they could have fun, that kind of stuff. Anyway, but that group, there were about 8 of us. We were basically, I don't even know what you call it, a research familiar of ARPA that then became DARPA. And our handler was this chick named Johnny Winchester. And she wore buckskin, no underwear, just a buckskin kind of thing that went just above her knees. And she had these amazing breasts that were always kind of hanging out. And she had 2 pearl-handled 45 automatics. And she'd walk around. She had really long blonde hair, and she was really gorgeous. But no one ever stopped her. No one ever asked her a question. No one, And she was our handler. And someone had this really beautiful apartment that was right across the street from the Lincoln Center, right? And it was condoed, right? And it was really nice, 3-bedroom, big living room, 2 other kind of big rooms, nice kitchen, dining room, and a veranda that looked out, I guess that was 8th Avenue, maybe, whatever that was, looked out. It's either 7th or 8th Avenue. Anyway, looks out over onto Lincoln Center. And that was downstairs was a Chinese restaurant and a really good Chinese restaurant and a magazine shop, like a pharmacy. But mostly one whole wall was journals, right? And these journals were, like Proceedings and Navy's technical journal, Aviation and Space, JAN's, CFR's, these aren't, things that are on most people's news racks. And if you can't get a subscription to these. So this whole wall was full of these, whatever, that month, that week of these journals. And on the other was this whole wall of this great, soda fountain. But they always had a stew, always had blintzes, always had great cheeseburger, always had great breakfast all day long, and all kinds of bagels, really good bagels with schmear and some lox, great coffee. It was a great place, right? And so you could go and pick up any one of those, journals, and if you were good, didn't get lunch on it, you could read it. And if you were understood to be, first of all, they wouldn't let you do it unless you were like, yeah, he's okay. And then you could buy it if you were that, he's okay. So that's where I met John Lennon, right? And this guy kind of rolls in. He's got big, black glasses. He's got short hair. He's got a kid in a stroller. He rolls in. And the other thing they had, right where the counter was, they had these things that newspapers were held into. It's got a stick, you pull it out, you can take the whole newspaper, right? And they had like New York Times, Chicago Times, London Times, every 20 of the best newspapers, Wall Street Journal, all the big things, and you could one at a time. You could go and read. Anyway, so and I would always look at the Sunday section. Right, they kept that there, and I would read the whole thing, but not in one day. Little bits here and there. Anyway, so this guy rolls in, and there's nobody else at the counter. He's kind of just not right next to me, but like 2 seats away. He's got the kid. He gets breakfast, and he goes, "Oh, can I see the sports page? And can I see this page?" I said, "Sure. As a matter of fact, here's the whole paper." And so we start talking. He's got an English accent. We have really, really great time. Before I know it, it's like, I've already missed half my appointments because I would go there. I get everybody started, and then I go there for breakfast and read journals and newspapers. And if I get there at 10 and leave at 12. But now it's like almost 1:30. I go, wow, my time flies by. He goes, "Well, do you come here often?" I said, "Yeah, pretty much." He goes, "Well, I'm pretty much here often. Why don't we say Tuesdays and Thursdays and Wednesdays, right? We'll try and make it, and we'll try and make one of those days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and at least we'll make it one. And one of us, the odds of us coming together. Yeah, okay, sounds great." So he does, and we talk, and his little kid was a cute little baby, older, maybe 1.5. Anyway, so we really, after about the third time we met, we actually meet. And because I liked this place, one of my favorite. I had a girlfriend that was just down the street. I'm a guy of location. So this was the best breakfast spot, and all these journals and newspapers. So we, by the second week, we were there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and had just the greatest of time. We just really hit it off. He goes, "You need to come and meet the old lady." I said, "Oh, I'd love to." And so he goes, "Well, why don't I talk to her, and why don't you come over Thursday night?" It was Tuesday, Thursday night. I was okay. I'll put it right. And he lived in the place where he got shot in front of. I always kind of back here someplace. It'll pop up, but it's really famous, old, really famous people live there. I mean, I think it's a condo or very expensive, one or the other, but it's a very nice place. And so I go there and I walk in and there's Yoko Ono. Now I'm an art guy, Soho guy, Tribeca guy. I had, 2 or 3 art galleries myself. I was, shown in the Whitney Museum. So I met her a couple of times. So I knew that was Yoko Ono. Then when I looked at John, that's John. It's like, because he wore the black glasses and didn't have long, he had, like really close cut hair. I mean, he looked like he was a dad, right? He wasn't John Lennon. Anyway, so you're John Lennon. And they start laughing. And he said, see, I told you that he had no idea who I was. So we were buds until he got shot. And his my really good friend Alan Tannenbaum, who was I don't know what he's doing now, but he was the photo editor of the Village Voice. Right? He was a Magnum friend. I got into Magnum for doing one shoot, for a big one shoot. So and that's kind of what I do. I go into where I am, and I'm 100% at it, right? I'm 100% conscious intent I am, right? And it turns out great, no matter what it is. Even if it's a catastrophe, it turns out great. Thinking of Dr. Stephen Greer. So I knew Steve, right? Or I know Steve, right? When I was in Asheville between 91 and 90, I left in 90s. I really left in 98, but I started to leave. Once Asheville paid off its depression debt, all the real estate guys came in and bought it up and was just destroying the place. And once Julian was killed by, Julian was probably in his late 60s, maybe early 70s. And he was a great guy. He heir to some gigantic Gilded Age fortune. And he took all that money and he came to Asheville and he found a real estate lawyer and he bought up all the major, really beautiful buildings of that. And he also took it upon himself to stop the paper mills that were destroying the Blue Ridge forests. And so he was a great guy, and we met, and I kept showing him things and giving him insights on what it was. He bought there was a thing called the Green Line, which was the environmental newspaper. He bought that, Mountain Express is what it's called. And he used it really well. And so we were buds, and I was his. So he built I told him all about my forays into public television in New York, and so he wanted to do that to Asheville, and he did. He put the studio and and he didn't put me in charge. He said, "You want to be in charge?" I said, "No." I said, "What I'll be is your, videographer. You need to document everything you're doing." So we did that, and so it was great. And he would always, I didn't have a salary. But he was cognizant of what I did as a consultant, and every now and then, just whimsically, he would hand me an envelope with a bunch of Benjamins in it, right? Which was nice, I'm happy to take it. And I'm not, I can't take that. You give me money, right? Like I said, anybody wants to send something to my PayPal, I don't even know if it works, so don't send a lot, maybe $20. Dudewake42@gmail. I'll take a look at it if anyone throws something up. One guy sends me $17 every now and then, but sometimes they're really. I won't go into PayPal, but don't use big sums. But you want to throw something in there that I'd be happy to take it because I live on $400. But getting more money than I kind of go to fancy restaurants and hotels, go back to my hedonist ways. Because so I think that's the thing that I came back here is to get over my hedonism, right? And when you get over something, you don't go cold turkey. You don't like that, right? You find out the reason why you were so drawn to that to begin with, right? And so, because that's, alcoholism, drug addiction, sex, any of those addictions, and hedonism is kind of one of them. And I guess I realized this early on in my life. Like when I went to prep school, with the richest, most powerful kids, like Eddie Merrill, Ricky Lynch, Ubi Yobart, Fortune 500, the top 10 of that. But the guys I went to, the Shah of Iran, Joe Kennedy, Robert Kennedy's youngest son, he was my roommate, So I saw all of this and I saw how screwed up these folks were. And so I said, okay, I'm not going to go there. But I didn't, it's not like I didn't like hedonism, right? So, but I started to see what are my limits? How can I, stay safe at this? Right? So that's the whole thing. You shouldn't just, unless you're addicted, like, my watching of things like this, I can, that's an addiction. So that's why I live in the deep green without internet, They could put internet in my deep green, but it would be $100 a month. It's like, what are you nuts? Anyway, so, and that's why, God's saying, okay, it's like the soup Nazi. No internet for you. Or you can kind of use it. You can go to restaurants, go to the library, Anyway, so that's kind of it. Right? Well, there's Fish. Hey, Fish. Thinking of Steve Greer. So Greer, I met Steve at the emergency room. I took a friend of mine there. They put their hand through a plate glass window, and I took them there. I kind of bandaged them up so they wouldn't bleed to death. And there was Steve. He was, working there. I don't think he was the doctor who worked on it, but he was working there. And he saw that, he said, wow, are you a doctor? I said, well, I was a surgical EMT for 3 years. I kind of patched, really destroyed humans until they could get to the operating room. So yeah, I got a little training. So we talked and because I got him there like at 11:30 at night, and we probably talked till. I said, aren't you haven't been called for anything? He said, well, if they need me, they'll call me. And but we started talking about everything under the sun, and flying squad, you name it. I told him I was Teslaphile, and all the different people and organizations I was part of. Wow, and he hadn't got married yet, right? And so the thing I saw about Steve was he's a great guy. His heart's really in the right place, but he wants to be the hero. He wants to be the guy who will go down in the books for bringing out disclosure. He doesn't realize, because he's talking to all these bigwigs and admirals and generals and shit like that, doesn't mean that he's in their club. They're just using him. But that's okay too. Meaning, I've learned that, and I would say Steve is closer to this than a lot of people. He is really doing this because he's like Cole. I don't think I never really found out what religious flavor he was, but it's like his religion, right? He's called by God to do this, which is great. If we're going to do it, as long as and he's not a psychotic, So Steve is really great, and he is, of all of the, like David Wilcox, I knew. So I back in the late 70s, I was part of the Theosophical Society, and we started a thing called the Green Door. And it was this person laid down some money, bought a building on Spring Street, and every flavor of whack jobs, ladies and moo-moos, and guys like Preston Nichols were in that place. And I was in that, and I was also part of this thing that I had gone to Cooper Union. I had been part of their program of alternative technologies. And then when I kind of, wasn't so underground. I came to above ground, and I was in Soho. I kind of I could pretty much walk around without like doing this, right? So I had enough affirmative action that I'm not on anyone's list. I mean, I'm sure I'm on a lot of people's list of they're watching me because what's he talking about now, right? Because all the streams I get on my emails are from people like that saying, "Hey, take a look at this. What do you think of this?" Right? So that's how I get my. I don't go digging it up like I used to. I'm not in library stacks anymore, which that was I really enjoyed that. I love having my own carol and being able to go into stacks that nobody else could go into. They were like, well, the young kids weren't there. It was just the scholarly folk. And I, at that time, was, everybody, for the longest time, from about 16 until I was 26, I was known as the Kid. That was my handle, the Kid. Instead of Al Bob, I was the Kid. Because I was in all these, art and culture and technology and political groups, who were like pretty high on the food chain. And I would be at these things, and people would say, "Oh, you should go. Let him read your pop, or go talk to him. He'll blow your friggin' mind." And so. And that was fun. See, that's part of that hedonism thing. That's like eating a chocolate cake, being in that crew. And I never wanted to be part of their club. A number of times, we really like you. We want, just like that Shrinky Boy said in Asheville, we want you to be, we've got to make you part of that, a partner. And, you come to country club. And I said, I quit. So I had that in me, right? And so it's kind of what it is. So let's see, thinking, where does he get Trump? Well, like I said, none of this. See, I keep telling you, this is my shtick. This is all a scripted soap opera. I mean, our whole planet is right. We you aren't your body. But what you think is, this is reality. I'm responsible. I have a job. I only, do what the book says, except when I can lie, cheat, and steal and get away with it. That's not where we are. We are a spiritual creature. Our soul is who we are, not even our consciousness. Consciousness is a doorway from our soul into this. Right? Consciousness takes that high-end info, processes it, and then kind of filters it through our cottage cheese brain, our heart, and our colon. And no one thinks that way, so they can't see the perspective that this is a soap opera, right? And either we're here because some entity on some other dimension or whatever is watching us, like the characters that Matt Green makes, where they're watching us, just like in Fred Flintstone, the great kazoo used to fly in on his flying saucer and fool around with the caveman. So, and that's the only real truth we get when we see stuff on the cartoon Fred Flintstone or The Simpsons or whatever. If you have that open mind that says, because most of us aren't. Most of us are restricted by our meat puppet self. And our meat puppet self is addicted. So our spirit is restricted by our meat puppet self that is addicted to belief and convenience. And that's why I bought the place out in the deep green 25 years ago and set it all up. It's it's comfortable. It's very good for me energetically. Probably the thing keeping me alive. And but it's not convenient. I have to walk the length of a football field about 10 times every day to go use the toilet up there, to go get something down here. I have 3 different spots that I hang out in. And then I have about 3 other, what I call spiritual temples, hammocks and chairs, living room furniture spread all over the place. You go look at it, it looks, oh, it's kind of pretty, especially when it's green. Right now, when it's all dead, it's still pretty though. A friend of mine came to visit me just a little bit before Christmas, and she brought over some treats, and I made her tea, and we were sitting out on my little veranda of the man cave, and she goes, this place, even when it's not green, it's beautiful. I said, I know, that's why I live here. But it's not conducive to living there when it's 8 degrees. It was minus 18 degrees there when I left. And I said, I can't stand this. And if it snows, it's going to snow, and that's it. I'll be stuck here. I'll die. The electricity will go off, and I'll be a frozen popsicle. So I came here to the undisclosed location, and I'm doing a lot of interesting stuff with people. Like when I had I told a story the other night. I came into the break room, and it was set up like a people on the boardroom, right? Big long table chairs, the comfy chairs all the way around. I said, okay. So, and I had just come from this restaurant where the cheapest meal they have is $60. And I saw 2 of the people who are like the chiefs of this thing. But see, the beauty of this thing, I have rigged it so it doesn't have, there are a lot of people that do it. They don't ask. I tell, past 4 years, I said, you see something that needs to be done, go do it. If you can do it to your best, and it is being done for the best of the group's well-being. So I've kind of, ding, 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 hammered that into these folk, and that's what they do. That's why this thing runs so well. It's because so they have this thing like maybe every 3 months, and that's because the 2 people who run it, and they do kind of run it. They are the authoritarian, because you do need an authoritarian motif on an organization like this, because you're going to be dealing with authoritarians. So you can't just deal with people who are the janitor, who are like the most important person here. So, and I keep it kind of, Googling along, or, just, it's like a worm. And so, so it's been good that I've been here for the last 4 weeks. It's a little hard on my body sleeping on concrete. But it's, the one good thing about your body going, ooh, eat, ooh, ouch, eat, is that if you don't do that, like my mother did it. I mean, I have everything my mother had. Right? I have everything my dad. I have all the genetically, well, I also have the genetically good things in them too, but their physicality, I have a lot of that. So I have my mom's neuropathy and a few other nervous things, not nervous, but in my nerval system and my cranial sacral system. But I know about them, so I can take care of them. But I'm lazy, so I don't take care of them all the time. So anyway, my mom, when she would walk, she'd go, ouch, ouch, ouch. And every time she did that, it magnified the pain that she felt. I could do that too. I mean, every step I take is pretty. But when I say, God, help me out with this, He does. So I, wake up in the morning and it's like I can't even move. I can't even. Am I breathing? Am I alive? I open my eyes, and if I open one eye and go, yeah, okay, I can see. Okay, I can breathe. Let's see if I can move. Oh yeah, I see. I can move a little bit. And then I do my at rest exercises, which allows me to like kind of roll and get up, and then I put my the floor everywhere here is linoleum, so they got lines everywhere, so I can actually line my body up and to adjust it, right? And I then do kind of stretching exercises, and everything kind of pops back into shape, and there I am. I can get around. But I'm still, and people go, "You're not sick. You can punch you in the face." So I'll show you how sick I am. And so Trump is going to either incinerate the world, which would be fine. I mean, I love Trump. He's going to destroy. We are going to go into the worst economic collapse this country has seen, right? Seen, quote unquote, seen, because we have pretty much been in a economic collapse since World War One. Since the Federal Reserve came and took us to the pony ride. So, and you know what the pony ride is? Pony ride is a time between a pony and they go to the glue factory. That's the pony ride. Put a bit in your mouth, the blinders on your eyes, you pull the carriage, you pull the plow, and then when you should be let go to eat apples under the tree, they take you, they turn you into glue. So that's us. That's where we're at. Pony ride. So this place, so they had it all set up for the big meeting, and I got up and they had done it the day before, and it's a pretty big place. Sometimes I don't leave my end of the neighborhood to come up here. And stairs, concrete stairs. Ooh, can't. It's hard on me, and so I don't do that. Anyway, I mean, a couple of stairs, 2 or 3, not bad. 20, and then another 20, and then another 20. So anyway, I came up here because I had the coffee machine here. I wanted a cup of coffee. I said, "Look at this. They're going to have the big Mucky Muck meeting." So I said, "Okay." So I went out and did some errands. I went and saw some people, some elderly folks I drop in on, and sit around. I bring a couple tea bags and make them tea. What is this tea? Oh, it's raspberry. Oh, it's so good. I can buy it in any supermarket. But they don't. They just drink soda. Now, they have a soda machine, a free soda machine here, right? The soda companies they still are dropping off free soda to us. And I said, "Why don't you drop off more seltzer?" Well, people don't like seltzer. I said, "I do." So they do drop off 3 or 4 boxes of seltzer. So anyway, I came up to get, oh, look at this. And so then that day I went off and visited those folks and did a few other errands. And then I was driving back, and at the big fancy restaurant, I saw these 2 Mucky Mucks cars. And so I went in, and I'm at the, where you come in, and they have whatchamacallits, right? The menu, right? And the cheapest thing is $60. And I go like this. And I turn around and I start to hobble out. And the lady who owns the place, Al, come here. I want to talk to you. I said, because back when we had the event, a lot of the restaurant people, when they didn't have electricity, they made the food because they have gas. They made the food for about a week and a half and gave it away free to everybody. Just came in, it was like, and they had you sign a little chip, right? And they put down, I wrote down what it was, you signed it, and they took it off on their taxes, right? And it was fine. If you got that shit going on, that's good. So anyway, I would go in there because they do have pretty good fish. So I went in there and saw the thing, and I was hobbling out. But I would talk to her all the time. She had problems with her kids, and her this, and her that, and her mother, and her business, and all this other crazy shit. And I would just read her palm and, read her tea leaves and, bring along my rune book. And she really, really, really got a lot out of that, which is great. Because all the people who work there told me how much better of an employer she was. So that's great. That's good. So I kind of, I hadn't been in there. This has almost been 3 months since last time I was in there. And she goes, Al, come here. And so we go to the other side. So it's about four. So she's bought the building. There were four other there was a popcorn guy and a coffee lady and a bakery. She bought them all out. And she then bought them out, didn't really buy them out. She bought the building, up their rent. They couldn't afford it. She then employed them, learned all their secret, everything, and then they couldn't take it anymore and they left. Anyway, so we go into the bakery and we sit down. She pour me a cup of coffee? No. Right? Give me a bagel? No. And it's probably good. So we talk about this issue and that issue. And then she goes, you were looking at the menu. Don't you want dinner? I said, yeah, but $60, I can't afford that. And she goes, oh, that's too bad. And then I hobble out. But I go in the back and I go through her dumpster. She had a big freaking salmon. Right? I smelled it. It smelled good. Yes, it had some gunk on it. And the wrapper that it came in had ripped off. And so I just picked up the salmon, went to the car, went home. And I cooked it in the microwave, right? And I bought a little easy bake oven. And so I made, from the canned shit we had, I made some sauces and this and that, some pasta and potatoes, and then kind of put it all on top of the fish and let it, because it's hard to cook fish. You can dry it out real easy. But if you either put it in a paper bag and let it steam, it's always perfect. But if you basically pile a bunch of stuff on it and let all the stuff be the paper bag, and I had these nice crescent rolls, and so when the fish got pretty well almost done, I took the crescent rolls, the ones you get from Pillsbury. And that they come in like a square or a triangle, and you roll them up, and right. So I did that, and I finished cooking the thing in an easy bake oven. So I took chunks of the salmon and the yummy other stuff that was on top, and rolled it up into those crescent rolls, about 12 of them, and baked them up for the 12 minutes that they're right. And I had this Irish buttercream butter, which I found that in the dumpster too. I said, whoa, baby. And it was like, 6 weeks out of date, but it was still in the pack, still hard, there was nothing growing on it. So anyway, I'm having this really nice dinner, with these crescent rolls and everything. And I know, the meeting's supposed to be at 7, and it's about, after cooking, it's about 6:30. So I eat up. And I pack everything up because that fish and all the other stuff, I packed that all up, put it in the fridge. I still have about 4 or 5 these crescent rolls left. I wrapped them, put them in the thing, and I am there just finishing up the last crescent roll where the first guy on the board shows up. And all the people on the board are people who have businesses and have somewhat money, not really. No one has money. In America, nobody has money. Even Elon Musk doesn't have money. Anyway, so we talk about this, that, and the other thing, about his business and blah, blah, blah. And then I said, and what I'm working on now, I'm trying to hammer into these people that our organization can't just give stuff away. We have to be known for the hand up and not just the hand out. People do need stuff. We got to still do that, but we need to. And that's why I've gone to the 2 colleges, ETSU and App State, to bring their, the medical school over there wants to build a little satellite medical center here. And there's a trauma kind of shrinky school at App State that they want to come here because these people are traumatized, right? So they're all up for that. Well, those schools have music and art and culture focus on a degree focused on Appalachian culture, right? So that's this place too. So I've gotten everyone all up for it. And right this week is our first week back to school in the next couple of weeks. And we've already talked to everybody, and it's all pretty much a done deal. But the two high mucky mucks, we can't let them in. They'll take it over. I said, no, they won't. It's, first of all, they can't. The 501c3 is in our name, buildings in our name. No, they can't take it over, but they can write. I mean, you guys suck at writing grants. I'm too old to do it. But they have a bunch of young kids who'll be bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. This would be the best thing on their curriculum. Be that we can really build, a foundation where this place won't just be around for the next 10 years. It can be on for a long, long, long time. So I beat that into them, so they're kind of on for that. And now the next thing I'm hammering into them is that we have to be here for the hand up and not just the hand out. That's, I'm trying to get that as our logo part of it, because I got them to name it what it's named, because they had it really. So it's all going good, So that's why God put me here for the last 4 weeks to do this stuff. So, everyone kind of shuffled in. The Mucky Mucks were the last to show, and they were about half an hour late. The meeting didn't start till about 7:30, and it was supposed to start at 7. And this whole room smelled like an amazing meal, right? But I put it all away before they showed up, right? I made them tea, but and that was about it. And and we talked about, and I'm like hammering a hand up, not a hand out. And they're all, And so I said, so what is the agenda? So I don't know. I said, guys, why come to a meeting where you have no idea what the agenda is? If you come to a meeting where you have no idea the agenda, that means the people who have an agenda is going to force it on you. The last thing out of a meeting like this, you set the agenda for the next meeting. And everyone is going to talk about that. So you can prepare, think about it, read books, write stuff, right? You go, ooh, that makes sense. So I kind of, and I told them about the Hedgerow Longhouse. I told them about the Grandma's Council, all of these ideas. And I think I'm going to have to hammer it a little harder. But, it was good because my little strategic mind, they were salivating like dogs from the smell of the food. And the food wasn't there. I gave them a cup of tea, but Indian tea. Well, what is this? It's like a orange and what is this? This is really good tea. So I know. That's why I gave it to you. It's clearing your palate. So you can go home and eat cheese doodles. But they were salivating from that smell of that meal. And then so the two Mucky Mucks walked in and they said, okay, Al, you got to go, because I'm not on the board. I wouldn't want to be on the board, right? But what I do is like, chink, 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 chink. And the other two people who really put this thing together, who have they basically understand what I can do, and they, they take care of me. That's, and so that's, because whenever, what is he here for? They go, Al needs to be here. Right? So, oh, okay, you say so, okay. So that's kind of what it is. And that's, and that's what you guys have to learn how to do in your neighborhood, because otherwise this place is going to be like, 1984 / Handmaid's Tale / Blade Runner. You want that? Go watch those movies. They, in a 1984 from that was made in England was Blade Runner. There's a scene where he's going to meet the Elon Musk of their time, and he's like the guy who created all the clone robots, and so he's going there to talk to this guy, and he, he's driving, he's got a George Jetson car, meaning they don't have the space for roads, so everyone's flying through the sky. So he's and there's this great scene where there's all of these like oil refineries and steel mills and and it's just all the black. They're not even pretending to try and have EPA, and that's what they're gonna. That's what Donnie's gonna do. He's gonna get rid of the EPA, which is just a pretend. Everything, the FAA, the FCC, you name it, they're gonna. And basically, well, we're going to decontrol everything so it can be run by corporations because they're so efficient. I mean, they're so efficient that the medicine that I need, my blood pressure and my cholesterol medicine, that I used to get as a generic, that cost me, 90 pills cost me $1.25. And now they said, oh, they're not making it anymore because they can't make any money. So you have to buy this other stuff that's now $70. So I said, fuck that. So I stopped. I still have, maybe 30 pills left. So I stopped taking them. And then after 4 weeks of not taking them, I went and had my doctor check my blood pressure and all that. Oh my God, your blood pressure is 150. Well, could be 300, So it's like, And I said, maybe you should find another generic. And I had the greatest GP. And then after COVID, he quit. He started this HMO 30 years ago. It was the best medical. They had everything. It was like running like a well-oiled machine. And he got COVID 3 times. A lot of his best people quit. And then this HMO came and offered him, a check he couldn't refuse. And I had an appointment with him, and he called me up and he goes, and again, I normally can't really receive, but he called me up and goes, Al, I can't see you Friday or whatever day it was. I go, oh, why? You got COVID again? He goes, no. I'm out. I said, you're out? What do you? I said, I'm retired. Retired? What? I've sold my house. I sold the business. I'm going to Pago and spend the rest of my life on the beach, drinking cocktails with little, umbrellas in them being served to me by pretty naked girls. I said, sounds like, because he was like older than me, but he was a wiry little guy, but the COVID took a lot out of him. And so I said, that sounds good because he was a great guy. So he was a great doctor. And then I'm just watching the whole medical model fall apart, just into total incompetence and greed and stupidity. And that's what you guys have to look, like Canada would really want to be the 51st Street. They have single payer health care. And Donnie goes, you'll have better health care than they have now. It's like, oh, please. And he lies so much, he tells the truth. That's why Donnie is the best man for the job right now, because he is going to destroy this whole country, which is the wiggly legs that the whole patriarchal, misogynistic, corporate, military-industrial complex is resting on. And, what a scam, Eisenhower, 20 minutes while he's still president, he gave that speech about the military-industrial complex before, like 20 minutes before Jack got sworn in, right? And he didn't tell Jack any of that. I mean, Jack could see it on TV, but, And Jack, by the time he got to be president, he was a sick guy. So he was taking every drug in the world. His doctor was called Dr. Feelgood. And he always had a tan. He'd spend 15, 20 minutes under the sun lamp every day. And, he looked like a movie star, but he was a dead man walking. So after Bad Pigs, he said, okay, you should go watch on YouTube or read on Google the last 10 speeches he gave, right? Like at college thingamajigs or at this thingamajig or that thingamajig. And he basically said, I am going to destroy the CIA. I'm going to destroy the military-industrial complex. I'm going to unleash all of the innovative technology we have that's being hidden from the people. I'm going to get rid of all the secret societies. He did that in 1962. So that's why we won't really get a lot of. I mean, those are all the people who killed him. Every group he enumerated was why Jack got whacked. Right? Plus, I mean, he had screwed so many women's husbands. When he was a philanderer, like, and I'm still saying that this is a soap opera. That Jane, it took you a long time to say hi to fish. She put that down about 40 minutes ago or so. Anyway. So this is like, in China, one of the worst curses you can give to someone is, may you live in interesting times. And baby, that's what you're going to be living through. Right? That's why I live out here. I mean, I kind of did all my homework. I'm far away from any target, and if anything gets targeted, it'll be me with a Hellfire missile, and I'll be dust in the wind in just a few seconds. So that's not a bad way to go. I mean, they want to do open heart and surgery on me. I have a heart murmur, and I've had it my whole life, right? And yeah, I mean, like when I had to walk the football field, I don't get out of breath. I can go, okay. I can feel that. So if I were to keel over from that, that'd be fine. Meaning it's up to God when I'm going to go, not me. Yeah, I'll take the blood pressure medicine and the cholesterol medicine. I mean, why wouldn't I? It does do the job, right? So it makes me a little more comfortable and maybe adds a few days. So that's not a big deal. So I'm here as long as God needs me here, right? That's it, pretty much. And something interesting is coming this way. More interesting. Yeah, it'll be interesting, whatever it is. But it won't be like the Chinese curse interesting. It'll be what God wants me to do, right? So that's where I'm going. So do you guys have any ideas of what happens to you when you die? I would have any of you guys, buddy Cliff High. You should really go. That guy he is plugged in 100%, and he is really good at it. And normally now, I mean, he used to be in this little undisclosed location, and he's had some kerfuffles with that. So he's on the move. So he does his shows in his car, right? And he doesn't show his own picture. He shows these kind of, I don't know, like Christmas card images, right? Santa and the Christmas, very strange. And he really goes at it. And I have to give it to Cliff. Cliff is a brilliant guy. And the other thing about Cliff, me, I've done a zillion different things, and I'm pretty good at all of them, right? And there are certain, maybe 10 things I am excellent at because I spend a lot of time at them, right? And I mean, I'm an excellent electrician. I'm not just a guy that put in a switch in your house. I can do pretty much anything. I've wired everything, nuclear reactors to you name it. I've done it. I've worked in Los Alamos, San Diego, you name it. I've been there. And my real, at that time when I was a younger man, and that was my real interest, was high voltage electricity, Tesla stuff. So they kind of twigged on that one, and so that's why I worked in all those places. And it was great because I got to play with the best toys, and I knew where not to walk into. I knew when, Al, we really like you. Would you like to, we'll up your, but I was making $30 an hour back in 1972. I need more money? I don't think so. That was more. It's like back, up until Ronald Reagan, people who had money like Elon Musk, they basically paid like 70% of what they made that year in taxes, right? Because so they made like $8 billion, right? And so they would pay like 5 billion in taxes. Well, that would leave 3 billion to go screw around with. I mean, 3 billion isn't enough, right? So $30 an hour, and a lot of the places I worked in, I had to be there all the time. I mean, they gave me a nice little place to crash in, but I kind of had to be there because I was so far out in the middle of nowhere that the commute would be like 200 miles one way. So I basically stayed, and so I got paid that $300, for let's see, it's 24 times 5. Let's round it off. So 2 times 5 is 25, with a 0 there, 250 hours. Let's just make it a nice round. 300 hours times $30. 3 times 3 is 9. So that's about $9,000 a week. It's like, I really need more money? I don't think so. And I worked I was like a slave. I was a doula. That's what I was. A doula to Blue Bunny resources, right? And this guy, it was like when I went into his office, I was living in Albuquerque. I was living on the east side where all the Chicanos were. I was, this guy who picked me up on 25 coming out of wherever it was, where all the rich people live with fences around them. And he looked just like Santa Claus. He's like my older brother. And so, he's Santa. I'm Bob Claus, Santa's younger brother. I take care of the naughty and nice list. And so, this guy had more stories than me. And well, I was only 20 years old, so he was like 70. And so by the time we got to Albuquerque, he goes, listen, this is where I grew up. This is where my mom was. But after I was, 18, I went, did other stuff. And I would come back and see mom every now and then, but she dies. I inherited all, and she had a general store, and she had about 4 of these like Navajo houses, made with logs. It's a round thing. Anyway. He goes, I'm not very handy. I think you are, and so fix these up, and you can stay in one of them for as long as you live. So I did, and it was great, and I fit right in there. And the Chicano, all the OGs, they knew I wasn't really a white guy. So, or a cop or any of the above that they thought I was to begin with. And, but once because I would come and fix their mom's refrigerator for nothing. I would do this. I mean, then they do, here's a little pot. Okay. And stuff like that. And so I fit right in there. And then after about 3 months of that, because it didn't take me long to get everything he had into ship shape, and he rented them things out. He had a nice little rent roll. I mean, he was very righteous because he's basically renting to poor people, and these things were big buildings. So these were Chicano people were living in there. So it'd be like 4 or 5 families in one of these things. He charged them like $50. So anyway. All was well, but I was starting to be a bum, meaning I had all this pot to smoke, all these pretty girls to flirt with, young Chicano girls. There's a section of young Chicano girls that are smart, well-read, have drive to be something, to get out of there, right? And they met me, and I just didn't want to, take advantage of them and screw them. I just boy, you're cool. So I was a commodity that was, and the OGs and the other Chicano guys kind of liked that because these girls were their sisters or their aunts or their someone in their family who was always on their case. And when they were hanging out with me, they weren't on their case. And so it's like I said, everything seemingly works out for me. Right? I mean, we're in a place where I shouldn't be able to hear a car. But anyway, Mr. Santa said to me, Al, you can't go on this way. I said, what? It's great. You said I could live here forever. And he said, yes, but it's not good for you. You need to expand your. I said, I got all these smart girlfriends. I'm expanding my mind and other things. And he goes, no, you need to get a job. So he hands me a newspaper. I go, the first job I get, I am out in front of a Jack in the Box cheeseburger store, and I'm in a clown outfit, and I'm swinging the sign around, and I was taught to dance by Carl Orff at Lincoln Center. It's part of Juilliard. So I'm like dancing around like a ballerina, and after about a week, the guy goes, I don't think you're good for this job. And I used to, you had to clean your own uniform. They didn't do it for you. You didn't like turn it in. So I would, they gave me the clown suit, for a month or however long I was there, maybe 2 weeks or a month, however long it was. I think it was 2 weeks because these morons, but everyone in New Mexico took advantage of workers by not paying them weekly, once a month or, every 2 weeks. It was like really, and that's how people get ripped off because they really don't figure out how much money they're really making. Anyway, so I've been there 2 weeks or a month, and I'm really getting it. I mean, I am getting into this job because I'm smoking pot out there, like a chimney and dancing around, doing pirouettes. And the guy goes, I don't think so. And he goes, so what do you got underneath? So he goes, you got to give me a uniform too, the clown suit, right? So anyway, he comes over, and it's, I haven't washed it ever. And it's like I am out in front of the exhaust where the cheeseburger grease is being exhausted. So and it's polyester to begin with. So it's like sleazy, like disgustingly. And I've been wearing it 24/7. I've been sleeping in it because, when I take a roll, I go there 100%. And so he goes, well, take that home and clean it. So I never returned it to him because I said, so how about my paycheck? He goes, oh, no. Bring back the uniform. I said, so how much money do I get? He goes, $17 for 2 weeks or a month. I mean, however long it was. It's while you were eating cheeseburgers. I said, what? So you got to pay for those. Next job, I worked as a gunite man. We worked for a company that they'd build these houses out in the desert. And just put a pad there and plop a house on it and sell it to some stupid retiree person. And the house would sink in the sand. And we would come and jackhammer pipes underneath the house and then pump concrete underneath the house to like level it off, right? Well, I thought it was the stupidest thing. And everybody working there was either on jack or drunk or just not in the right mind. And the guy who was the supervisor was totally tripping. And so one day this is house and we jackhammered the pipes under there. And the basic gunite machine, the cement mixer truck comes, is pouring it into the machine, and we push it under there under pressure. That's gunite. So usually it would take no more than a truck and a half, no more than two, right? And we had the little telescope, and we marked it off so we could see the level, right? And so, one truck, nothing moves. Second, and one truck would make it move at least, maybe, then we need another half or another, Anyway, so, one truck, nothing moves. Second truck, nothing moves. Third truck, second. And the guy goes, just keep it coming. So, by the time 11 in the morning came, we had about 15 cement mixers pumped underneath. I kept saying, after the third truck, I said, I think there's something wrong. I mean, this concrete. I said, well, look, where's it going? Do you see it coming out of the ground? And I said, we just keep pumping until the house levels out. And I said, you're the boss. And I didn't, my job was done. I just sat there, I had my little lawn chair that I had, because really they made me do the jackhammering, which really built up gave me a good, right? But they too were paying me 40 cents an hour, right? So anyway, right? And so, like I said, it was not that big of a deal. And so I would just and I had a little umbrella that, went to the lawn chair, and I'd sit there and read a book. And these guys would do the pumping of gun. Anyway, so all of a sudden, a police car, you can see it coming. It's like it's coming off of the highway, and it's just coming up the cul-de-sac, about 5 miles away. And there's no other houses except this sucker, and it's like coming up here, and it goes, what are you guys doing? And so we're pumping concrete. He goes, no, you're not. This concrete is like coming up like 20 miles away where the Albuquerque Mall is. What we did was we jackhammered into a culvert, and we're up here, and the mall is down here, and the concrete is rolling down the culvert into the mall, coming up through the drains so the whole floor of the mall is covered in concrete, and it's kind of quick set, like it really starts to set up within 30, 40 minutes. So by the time it's been rolling, so it's not setting, so it's going down there, and it's like filling the new mall with concrete, like that much. And so anyway, everyone got fired except for the guy who was in charge. He was like the brother-in-law of the sister whose father owned the business. Anyway, so that was my second job. And then I went to the employment agency because the newspaper wasn't really doing great at this. Oh, I had one other great job from the newspaper was a car stereo installation thing, right? And now I haven't really been eating a lot, right? Because I get up because I don't have a car, don't even have a bicycle. So to get to these jobs, I have to either walk, hitchhike, or walk, and no one picks you up. So, especially if you're coming from the east side of town. So anyway, I'm getting in pretty good shape, but I'm not eating much. I mean, by the time I would get there, Santa was already asleep. He didn't eat much either. I mean, there was a store, I could go into the store and get a can of this or a can of that. So I get this job installing car stereos. And this guy's a jack up too. I mean, he only takes cash. So he always has a wad of cash like that in his pocket, right? And he's like, he's proud, he pulls this thing out all the time, and and there's hundreds in there and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm putting this thing in there, and I haven't eaten anything, and I'm like kind of peaked because I'm not sleeping much, and I get in, I put this thing in the dashboard, and I wire that up, and I'm putting bigger speakers in the back. And so I'm in this lady's truck, it's a Cadillac, and I'm in there, and she's got bags of food. And she has like food that's been cooked. It's like chickens, rotisserie chickens, and things of lasagna that, some store, rich people buy food that's already cooked, still hot. So I'm like, unbelievable bread, and wine. I just, I stick a screw in there, pull it out, and go. Anyway, I haven't eaten anything. I haven't really slept. This is the first really good meal I've had, right? But I kind of finished the speakers up. So, and I fall asleep, and the trunk falls down. And back in the day, the Cadillacs had this little thing that once the trunk went down, you didn't have to push it down. You just had to, and it would like and lock it. Right? So I'm in the back there, falling asleep, eating all the food. I got the lasagna all over my face, and my hands are all greasy. And I'm like, she's got her laundry in there, and I'm like, and so I'm dead asleep, and so she pulls into her garage. I'm still asleep. I have no idea. She opens it up, and I'm woken to screaming of a lady, and I go, huh? And she slams the trunk on my head, knocks me out, right? And then I come to with these two cops, there. And I was whiter than white, well spoken. I said, listen, I was working she just had a stereo put in. Yes, I just had a stereo put in. And I was installing the speakers. And he goes, where was that? I said, Jack's Auto Stereos. And I'm like, that asshole, I know that. He's cheap as shit, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, I worked there 2 weeks and give me a nickel. I'm starving. So she had all this food, and they see it, like that, the rotisserie chicken and the things of all. They look at the house and they see the Cadillac, and they're not too far above the economic strata where I'm sitting right now. And they kind of probably gone through this and, okay, man, we got him. And they take me away, and they don't handcuff me or anything. They just come with us. So I get in the back. And they go, where do you live? And I tell them where I live. And they go, you're Santa's boy. And I go, yeah, that's right. He goes, my brother lives here. He's an OG. And you fix our mother's refrigerator. I said, yep, that's me. And he says, just get out. Don't worry about it. We don't even know how to write this one up. So I said, thanks, boys. And then I got to know other policemen, and then I was in Albuquerque another little less than a year, and I got to know those guys pretty well because they kept coming over. Hey, can you fix this? And I said, sure. So that was Albuquerque, and that was so. After that experience, Santa said to me, "The newspaper ain't doing too good for you. Why don't you go down to that Blue Bunny place?" What's that? I said, downtown, that big tall building, the only big tall building in Albuquerque. It's called the Bunny Building. You never seen that? I said, I don't really go to that part of town, Santa. And he goes, well, I'll go there. He has an employment agency. And okay. So I go in there, and I go, and I had one other job that I got from the newspaper, and that was selling Kirby vacuum cleaners. And these guys were total scum because they would sell it to really poor people and do it on time. And it's only $5 a month. And then, but little do they know that was just for the first 2 months. And then you had to pay $100 to have them take the vacuum cleaner away, which they could never afford. And then it was $5 a week. And then they get behind it, and little do they know when they sign that contract, if they owned their house was theirs. So I worked for those guys, and I wasn't a salesman. I was what was known as a yellow card boy. I demonstrated the thing, and I would basically go and say, "Hey, listen," because I would get $5 a card. Every time I got somebody to sign it, which gave the Kirby Vacuum Cleaner Company the right to go and demonstrate the vacuum cleaner in the house. So people, once they signed that card, they couldn't say, "Oh, you can't come in," because it's kind of like a contract. Right? And I got $5 a card. And so the first day I did it, they dropped me off in this neighborhood to go, "Hey, there, we're going to pick you up over there." Okay. So I just kept hitting the things, and what I did, the thing was so heavy, it was like, ugh. So I kind of stashed it, behind a tree and just, no, what did I do? I think that came later. But the first few days, I actually dragged that thing around. They didn't even have it on wheels. You had to really pick it up. Don't scuff the box up, anyway. So I did that first day, basically, because once they explained the whole shtick to me, I said to myself, this really sucks. I'm being brought into this terrible thing. And that's how people become Nazis, by selling Kirby. Well, I won't use the name. Anyway, so I basically would, hi there, ma'am. I'd love to show you the Kirby Vacuum Cleaner Company, and I will clean your house for you and show you every attachment and the special attachment. Right? And the special attachment was Kirby actually had a dildo attachment for their that sucked the girls off. So anyway, I it was quite interesting that first few weeks. But the first day I went in, and I didn't even do that. I just said, "Oh, hi, I'd love to demonstrate this thing, right? And I'll clean your house, right?" So as I was cleaning it, I would tell them, "Do not buy this. This is totally going to screw you. They're going to take whatever you own. They're going to take. Don't do it. But can you just sign this yellow card for me? And they're going to come and want to give you the pitch. Do not just say no, 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 no. Just say no. Nancy Reagan, just say no. I think that was about the time, and that's what she really said. No to, like, don't buy anything on time. Don't get a credit card. Don't, just say no. So anyway, so she. So I did that. And so the first day I came back with 20 signed cards, right? And the average, demonstrating guys, we get 3 or 4 a day, right? That's like, 15, 20 bucks a day. For Albuquerque poor people, that's like good. I got like 20, that's 5 times 1, that's 250 bucks. And they paid you in cash, right? And so, and that was to motivate you to be a succubus to sell this thing, right? And the guys nearly flipped. Oh my God, you're the perfect guy. You're the golden goose, blah, 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 right? So that week, on the average, I got, 150 bucks every day. Some days 200, some days 250. So on the average, let's just say 200, 5 times, that's $1,000. That's like kind of money, right? And in cash, you got paid cash every freaking day. Plus, they came and picked you up with the van at wherever you were, because they didn't want you having to huff it like everybody else working had to. And they would take you to McDonald's, and they would get you 2 Egg McMuffins, a cup of coffee, and a couple of those potato things. And so that was the best, right? So, and then and we got off at 3, because that's when the husband may start to come home, and they didn't want to have that kerfuffle, because there was a lot of the demonstrating of the dildo. So you got off at 3. So they picked you up at 8, and you said, got McDonald's, right? At 3, they would drive you, and I would get 2 the fish sandwiches I really got addicted to, and French fries. Their French fries, if they're hot, they're great, and the milkshakes, if they're at their peak, they're great. The best, That's the thing about McDonald's. If you catch it when it's supposed to be eaten, it's like crack cocaine. But if that sandwich is a little cool, it's like eating cardboard. The French fries, if they're cold, it's like eating slithers of asphalt shingles. Anyway, so that was doing great. Almost 1,000. Somewhere between 1,000 in cash every freak. And we were consulting. There's no 1099s, nothing. Right? And pretty much all their business was that. anyway, so it was doing great. I was money. I was, looking clean, and I was even thinking about buying a car. And I bought myself a little moped, not moped. Yeah, it was a moped. And you didn't even need a license for that, right? It was like a bicycle. I didn't think of that as a motor vehicle. Anyway, so it's like, hey, I could do this. A house for free, I could go to Santa Claus's store for whatever I needed. It was all good. And so, so I've got this job, and I'm doing this. And third week, right? I'm thinking, hey, I can do this, for a while because it's really pretty. It's really nice. I'm really getting to know Albuquerque, especially. There is a very interesting art scene going on in Albuquerque, especially music. They have a big music scene there, jazz and every other kind of music you can think of because of the university that's there. Anyway, and Albuquerque would not exist if Edwards Air Force Base wasn't there. And so, anyway, so I'm doing this job and I'm making serious money. I'm feeling great. I'm doing, going back to my aesthetics of Tai Chi Qigong and not eating crap. And I'm not complaining about carrying that thing because now, again, my muscles are up there. But when I would check, they drop me off at a certain place, I would take the thing, and if I found a person, a woman who had friends, right? And I said, can you call up some of your friends and have them come for this demonstration? Oh, yeah. And I would stop off at a store and get like an Entenmann's cake or something like that. And so they would come and I would get in one shot 10 girls. And then I would, if I felt like it, I would go do others. But anyway, that was my shtick. And sometimes I did, stash the box. I would go to where he was going to pick me up, find a place I could, 90% wasn't going to get stolen, not be found. And then they picked me up there. So that was my shtick. I was doing great, right? But this one of the easier jobs I ever had. And the bosses thought I was like, the great white hope. So one day they drive me to a real rich people's kind of neighborhood, right? And so he goes, go all the way up there and go to that place there, and then hit this neck of the woods. That's where I'll pick you up. Okay. So I'm there, and I'm like at a crossroads, right? I'm looking around, and I see this really nice house. It's really different, and all these they're all ranch houses, but they're all kind of. They're probably expensive, but they're cookie cutter. But there's this one up there has a big lot, and nobody here. This is a relatively new cul-de-sac, so nothing. There's no trees, no nothing. A lot of people have stones instead of lawns, and because this is the desert, right? So, but this is one place over there, like golf course kind of lawn and trees, palm trees, and just not your average kind of anything of New Mexico. So I go, I'll go check that out. So I go over there and ding dong, right? It's about 10 in the morning-ish. And I'm standing there, and this woman who's probably somewhere between 20 and 27 enters the thing, and she's got these fluffy slippers on, and I don't even know how to describe it. Just, a totally translucent nightgown that just is about 2 inches above her hoo-hoo. But it doesn't matter because you can see everything. And she's got these breasts that are just like, and I go, and before I can even say hi, would you like, give my spiel? She goes, would you like to come in? And I go, sure. So she comes, I'm having some coffee. Would you like some coffee? I've just made some donuts. I said, made donuts? I said, oh, yes. You know? So makes donuts. And she's just sitting there and her legs are wide, and I'm just, and so it goes from there. And within 20 minutes, we are going at it like two rabid bunnies. And on every surface, we left our stains and scent and just rolling around. And then she brings out, we smash into the bar, and then she starts making cocktails, and I'm getting pretty lit up. And then she goes, "Oh, would you like to smoke some of this?" And and this is the best Chiba I've had. Now, I get Chiba from the OGs, but that's this Mexican dust. This stuff is like, where'd you get this? Anyway, so we're having just a grand old time, and they're bottles, and the house is a wreck from everything we've done, and we are like, she's still like riding me like a cowgirl, and I'm totally exhausted. I don't know if I fell asleep or just went comatose, but all of a sudden I look up because this guy has just kicked me in the head. I look up, and there are these two guys, kind of look like FBI agents or men in black. I mean, they're wearing black suits, black shoes, sunglasses. It's already gotten dark. The guy's supposed to be picking me up. And this white man with a white beard, looks older than Santa Claus. And he's got a really nice suit. And he looks down at me and he goes, "So you're fucking my wife?" And I won't go any further than that. I lose that job. But the rest of that's from that point to losing the job, that is a whole big section of a story that has more to do with the assassination of JFK and flying saucers. So that's why I'm going to say, we'll tell you that one at another time, because we're already 2 hours and 51 minutes. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Albob. That's me, this guy who tells you stories, and don't believe a word I say. This is just for, well, that one. So I'm unemployed again, but I got a big, I don't have to work. I got like $4 or $5 grand after just 3 weeks of work, right? So, not a problem. I got it stashed, and I have no real expenses, no rent, no power, no this, no that, and I got these, Hispanic young ladies who, it's the Owl Club. They all know each other. They all, sometimes because, wherever I go, I turn my house kind of into a disco. And so the girls would love to come and dance, and just, they would bring whatever it took to, I call it party gifts. And so we'd have the wild, crazy, fun time. And sometimes we'd talk about books or whatever they're reading, or, we weren't always, lascivious, hedonist, Romans. But they always brought food and Chiba and whatever. And so, but it was great, right? And sometimes we go to, one of them had a car. We go to the movies. We go to hear music at the Tender Trap, which was a great jazz club. We would go, there would be lectures. Two of the girls were going to college, and they were going to college for the right reason, not to, get a degree to be a nurse or something. No, they were studying all different kinds of things under the best professors they could find. And they had great lectures and this and that. So we would go to those, right? And these teachers, because these were good looking Spanish girls, their teachers would like whatever they wanted. Hey, that's good. Bringing more pretty girls? Oh, sure. And sometimes those guys would come to our disco nights at Al's. I'm being a spendthrift. I'm not really spending a lot of money on anything because, I'm going to. Anyway, I don't totally go into the derelict bum thing I was before Santa said, "Oh, you got to get a job." But he would say, "So you're thinking about getting another employment?" And I said, "Oh, the newspaper hasn't been such good luck." And he said, "What about Mr. Bunny?" "Who's Mr. Bunny?" Bunny building downtown. I said, "Well, I never go downtown. What's downtown?" Because it was very white, banks and insurance companies and nothing fun. No clubs, no movie, no real good restaurants either. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm spoiled. I've been spoiled for life for Mexican food by living there. But anyway, so I go, okay. So Mr. Bunny, Santa drives me down there, and I go into thing, and there's the Department of Motor Vehicles here, and there's an insurance company over there, and there's a lawyers there, and then there is this right in the middle, the lobby, right? And I go, "Hi, I'm looking for the Bunny Employment Agency." And she goes, "Oh, what do you do?" I said, "Well, I do a lot of stuff. I can do almost anything. I've had a real." She goes, "What have you been working at?" And I said, "Well, I want a better job, but I have a real good skill set that I think I might be able to get paid well for." And she goes, "What's that?" And I said, "Well, I'm a master electrician, and my specialty is high voltage electricity." Now, you would think that's pretty esoteric. So she just looks at this clipboard. She's going down. Oh, it looks like you'd be perfect for this job. She goes on. "Well, Mr. Bunny, I got a young man here. I think he's just going to fit great for that." What was the guy's name? Oh, I forget. Dick Powell. That's it. For Mr. Powell. Okay. So she gives me this little thing. It like pins it on me, right? And it's like an ID, right? But it's just a piece of paper that she, it says, "Mr. Bunny, Mr. Powell." Pins it on me, right? So you go in the elevator, go to the 14th floor, right? So it's like 1 to 12, and then 13, 14. Okay, push 14th, go up there. It's like Donald Trump before Donald Trump. I mean, everything's gold and reflective, and it's got big blue letters, "Blue Bunny Employment." And I go, okay. So I woke up, go to, and this is really amazingly attractive young girl at the the desk there, and she sees right Mr. Bunny and Dick Powell. So, "Mr. Bunny, that young man that we think is good for Mr. Powell is here." Just go right in. So I go in there, and there's this guy. He must weigh 500 pounds. I mean, he is like gigantic. Have you ever seen Monty Python's movie, The Meaning to Life? And there was Mr. Creosote. This guy was bigger than Mr. Creosote. And he had this big mop of blue hair, like really long, but it's just like, it's not like put in a bun. It's not like it's just it's like just sitting like a helmet. It's just, and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Al. I'm Mr. Bunny. Call me Jack." Okay, Jack. And he goes, "So you're an electrician and your specialty is high voltage electricity? That's pretty interesting. That's not like everyone's, you're more than a guy who puts in a light switch, right?" I said, "Yep." "You're more than a guy who just wires jack in the boxes." "Yep." "You're more than a guy who wires a factory." "Yep." "Kind of more than a guy who does nuclear power stations." I go, "Yep." He goes, "Well, what have you?" And I go down all the things I've done. He goes, "Okay." So it goes down the drawer. He pulls out this envelope, a legal envelope, and it says, "New Mexico Master Electrician's License." He goes, "Go in that room over there. Here's a pencil. Take the test." So I go in there and I pull it out, and there's a cover letter. It says, "To take this test, you need like 15 years of W-2 forms as a electrician. You have to be in a union in New Mexico. You have to, be a New Mexico citizen. You have everything's like you have to have a Class 9 New Mexico motor vehicle operating license, and it just goes all these things about New Mexico. And I've only been here 6 months, right? And every time I read, well, hey, take the test. Hey, take the test. And then by the time I get to the fifth one, he goes, just take that cover letter and put it over there. Take the test. So, take the test, right? And it's about 20 pages long. It's pretty, and I have no access to any kind of textbook or crib sheet because I had no idea. I just went in there to say, and so I come back with the test, and Mr. Bunny's got it there. He then puts the little thing over the test and more little boxes that I filled in. And he goes, "Whoa!" I said, "How did I do?" He got 98. That's like way above the average of a guy who fit all those things on that cover letter. Right? That's why I kept saying, "Take the test." So here's the offer I have to you. I go, "Wow. So what's the offer you have to me?" He goes, I am going to, there's this job for Dick Powell. He does government work, some big stuff, and a lot of high voltage. And he's been looking for someone who knows how to tune a transformer. So that's me. And he goes, yeah, I can see. Because there was a whole section about that. And I got them all right. And they were math problems, but I know how to do it like a field equation. Anyway, so he goes, this is the offer. This job pays $30 an hour. But you have to have a master electrician's license. You have to have a Class 9 operator's license, right? And a few other things, right? And all these things, you have to be here for at least 10 to 20 years to be able to take that and work and have W-2 forms. But none of that matters because you can do the job. And we haven't really found a guy that has your curriculum vitae and so we really need you. So this is what I would do is I would take $17 each hour out of your $30. But I am going to only take $10. So you're going to make $20 an hour. And where you're going to be sent, you're going to be there from Sunday afternoon to Friday afternoon. And you'll get paid that $20 an hour, 24/5, right? And that's good, right? That's a lot. That's like it's like $3,000 a week, right? But it's going to be a pretty tough job because it's going to be way out in the middle of nowhere. It's not going to be too creature comforts. You're going to be working with guys who are like, and it's going to be like almost war zone, right? And he's not like, he's telling me exactly what's going to be like. But the cherry on the top is to get this job, you need a master electrician's license. That's why he took this test. I'm going to send this sheet in to the state guy I know there, and they're going to fax the license right back, right? And Class 9. You saw the DMV down there? Marge is down there. You're just going to go down, keep that little thing that's pinned to you, go down there and say, hi, Marge. Mr. Bunny sent me. Marge, I'm going to send a kid down here. He needs Class 9, okay? You know what to do. I go down there. I don't take a test. I don't do anything because Class 9 is like where you can drive, a crane, a tractor, a bulldozer, a tank, a jet airplane, anything that moves, you can drive, cement mixer, tractor trailer, anything. It's Class 9 license, right? So all she does, she goes, sit on the chair. I sit in the chair, takes a picture, she takes my name and, where I live and that kind of stuff. And hits a button, spits it out. Here's your license. Go back up there. By that time, he's got the master electrician license, my name, everything. And he goes, okay, now you have to sign these. This is our contract. And you're going to work for me under this. Remember, you're making $20 an hour. You were making 15 cents. And he looked up my job resume of the last few weeks. And he knows all this. This guy is so plugged in. Right? So I get that job, and so that's now you get. We're gonna have a little party. It's Friday. Everyone has got the job. It's gonna, in that nice little room over there. We have a lot of food, a lot of music, libations, and here, and he gives me, those members jackets. Remember in the '90s, he gives me a Blue Bunny members jacket, right? And it's kind of a faux leather thing, right? And he gives me a really nice wallet. It's a little thicker because it's also like a thermidor. And in the thermidor, there are 5 blunts. That's like a cigar with really good marijuana in them. So you can smoke them pretty much anywhere you want to. People think you're smoking a cigar. And in that wallet, there are 5 Benjamins. And I go, whoa. So that's like, so I'm all signed up. I got my master electrician. I have a card that says that, that. And I already was a member. He found out that I was a member of Local 3, the IBEW, NABIF, and IATSE. He goes, boy, you're in the groove, kid. And he goes, now, after you finish up working, for Dick, you'll have a master electrician license. You can do what you got it. You could make some serious, New Mexico, the Southwest is going to explode. And a master license here in New Mexico, you can work without anything. You just go into their building department. They give you Texas, Idaho, California, not the cities, but California, and a few other places. This license will be good at any of those places. And pretty much any other state, you can just take their test and you'll be able to go. So this is like, yeah, baby. So I go in and have the party, and there are all these kind of people. I'm looking around, and they're like people who are like habit. You can tell they're doing what me. I kind of look like almost a rodeo bum or something. I mean, I don't have really nice clothes. I don't really have, I'm clean, I'm shaven, I'm well cut. And there's this girl, really good-looking young lady over there in a nurse's uniform. She's a nurse, obviously. Then there's a bunch of guys in suits, so they're either going to be an executive or a lawyer or this. And then they're kind of a bunch of guys who look worse than me, right? And I'll probably see them again. So anyway, so I kind of looking around, and I go over to where the food is, and they got some pretty good stuff here, right? So I'm loading up a plate, and this young lady is like kind of bumps into me, and I go, "Oh, excuse me." She goes, "Oh, it's my fault. And would you like to sit next to me while we have something to eat?" I said, "Sure." So sit down, we start talking, and she had just come from Chicago. Just got out of nursing school. She had worked in Chicago in a hospital, and did a lot of like operating rooms, emergency rooms, a bunch of different things. And she's well schooled, and her uniform is starched and perfect, and the hat is not tipped, and she got the white shoes, the whole thing. And she goes, and she's wearing we're all wearing the Blue Bunny, members jackets. We're all part of the Bunny Association. And so we're sitting, and she keeps rubbing up against me and going. And I look around at all the other guys. So all the guys in suits and stuff, they're like in their 40s, right? And all the other guys are like, alcoholic meth heads, but I'm well trimmed and good looking, and yes, and I look good in my Blue Bunny members jacket. And so she basically goes, "Well, I'm just coming to town and just got this job, and what did you get?" I said, "What do you mean, what did I get?" "Well, you got the jacket, but there's that secret pocket in there. What was in your secret pocket?" And I pulled it out. I said, "Oh, it's a wallet." And she said, she looks in there. She said, "Oh, you got 5 Benjamins. I said, how many did you get? She goes, 3, women's. I said, but there's something in there. What was in the secret little stash in yours? And she goes, oh, cocaine. And I said, oh, okay. You like cocaine? Oh, yeah. Really? And this is good stuff, too. You want something? I said, maybe. But not now. Not here. Not now. I said, but I light up one of the cigars. Yeah, this is pretty good. Here, you. Yeah, this is pretty good. So we smoke a cigar there, and Mr. Bunny comes over and goes, Al, and we got some boxes to go if you want to take something home with you. And I said, oh, gee, thanks. And then he looks at the young lady and goes, so Susan here, she's a very nice girl, but she's just new in town. You might know any place she can stay? I say, yeah, I think I have a place she can stay. So I box up a stuff. He puts a nice little carry bag, and she actually has a car. And so we drive back to my place, and that's it. She moves in, like right then and there. And that's happened to me a number of times. But this girl is just wild and crazy, and just sex. And she comments and critiques me on what a great lesbian I am, and so we have a great time. And so that was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm supposed to get my butt out to this place, and so there's a Greyhound bus that goes up there. He's given me a ticket. He said, just get there at 8 on Sunday. You'll get out there at the Four Corners at Grants, New Mexico, and there'll be somebody to pick you up and take you to the job site. I said, okay, sounds good. So that's the first time I did that. So I said, sweetie, you can stay here. Here's the key. It's just a latch lock, and knock yourself out. Just don't bring anybody here. So I wouldn't. Don't want to. So I said, okay, that's good. She goes, no, you're my secret boy. This is our secret place. No one else is. No. And there were a lot of things around that place that if someone else came in there, I could tell whether if somebody else was in there. Anyway, so I went to the job, and it's just everything that Mr. Bunny, it was like a war zone. It's a uranium mine on Mount Taylor, which the Hopi called the St. Goddess because it said if you mess with it, it will devour your not just you, but your society, your culture, your everything. Right? And they were drilling down 9 miles into this sacred mountain to go at one of the richest deposits of uranium. Makes sense, right? Sacred mountain. What would you have at its base? But stuff was like almost plutonium. Anyway, so I was putting all the high voltage transformers. That was my gig, and wiring them up, right, and doing the distribution. And so, because there were a lot of meters there that weren't just 110 or 220. There were 440, 600 volts. There's some pretty heavy equipment there. And so really, I was the only guy who did that. So they gave me a bunch of people to do all the, pull this, do that, put that pipe over there, that kind of stuff. Me, I just terminated, that's what you call it. And then terminated and tuned, right? So, but for the first week of my job for Dick Powell, I reported to, because he wanted to try me out and wasn't just going to drop me into that place. So I spent a week there. And he had his father was Dick Powell too. It was just like Grandpa Stahl. It was Dick, and, and then Grandpa, right? It was Dick, right? So anyway, and Dick was a dick, but Grandpa was just like Grandpa Stahl. He actually knew, I worked for this guy named Stahl. Oh yeah, he started Local 3, didn't he? I said, yep. Anyway, so like I say, things just kind of work out. That's the way it should. And if you Dreamy Dreamland audience, just put yourself into the frequency of being consciously intent in what you do. It'll all work out. Even with this crazy, because we're heading into some wow kind of times, right? So, and the last person left, so I think that's a good moment for me to say good night, good evening. I'll see you tomorrow, probably.